Oh yeah, I'm with this, with it. I'm just gonna lay back and I'ma drop some smooth lyrics. So tune in 7 to 9:30 and don't be late. We about to set it straight. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Word. I'm ready, let's go. Ain't no half stepping, that's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters talk sprinkled with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call it, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. My brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus State start to talk, running back. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus State start to talk. That's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters talk sprinkled with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call it, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. My brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus State start to talk.
All right, y'all. Ain't no half stepping. Marcus J live from New Den of Legacy Internet Radio is about to be live and full of color as we do at this time of the week. Ready to have another outstanding show. There's a few things that we're gonna get to tonight. We have been in a bit of a feisty mood the last few weeks. We're gonna talk about a sister who did things differently than expected and the outcome that she got. We had more conversation about Kanye West, and we're going to ask, has he gone too far? And lastly, we're going to ask the question, why we always slurring ourselves? We got a lot to get to tonight on the flagship show of Legacy and that radio. The show's called Ain't No Hashtag with Marcus J, and we are, in fact, live right now.
Yeah.
It's about that time. It's about that time to get.
Button your lip, open your ears, strap on your thinking cap. Socially conscious talk that's entertaining with a dash of humor and the top sports stories of the week. It's time for Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. He hits one deep to right center. That ball is out of here. The Yankees win the pennant.
Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J live from New Den of Legacy Internet Radio. Thank everybody for rocking with us tonight. We appreciate those folks already checked in on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. You guys continue to rock with us. This is why we roll with y'all. Thank you for everybody that's rocking. We're already getting some love from one of our favorites. Uncle H is already checking us out. He says he's in the house, so we glad to see you there. So this is the time of the show where we get the salutations from the usual suspects. As I look around the room, they are here. My brother, he sits across from me. He is one of the hosts of our show. Our brother John is in the building. What it do, homie? How you doing, John? My brother.
I'm exceptionally well.
Yeah.
Better than most.
Yeah.
And bragging a little bit about it, but very thankful.
I can dig that, man. Just a little bit. All right, a little bit.
A little bit.
Let's keep the salutations going, and we'll get back into how we are doing as individuals. Of course, our sister is on my right hand because she is on my right side because she is my right hand. She is our co-host. My sister and yours, Steph B, is in the building. What's up, Steph B?
Always forward. You know the deal.
Yeah, man. It's good to see you. You having a good day?
Yeah, I did. Things happen.
Yeah.
And then mentally I make them unhappen when it's time.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, I can't focus on that.
Yeah. The power of suggestion.
That's
it all
right,
starts with a thought.
manifestation.
Yeah. So let's get the elephant in the room out of the way before we even get into it. John, it is your hat and what your hat represents. I am a very unhappy man right now.
Oh,
The New York Yankees got swept in playoffs.
yes, they did.
There's no more baseball until February or March or April, depending
Isn't
on
it funny
your level
when your
of your
own team
fanship.
gets out? You're like, no more.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, when my
like,
Mets met the Padres and forgot who they were,
yeah,
I was like, I'm not watching anymore.
you were done then, and
Yeah,
then the
I was
Padres
done.
just lost to the
The
Phillies.
I don't like the I
Yeah.
wanted them. I was rooting for the Phillies. Since you
Yeah.
sent my Mets home,
Yeah,
I want you to go home.
I actually got to think that I'm rooting for the Phillies now too. There's no way I could root for the team that kicked my ass.
You
Is bad.
can't. You can't
You
do
know,
it.
no. But here's what I will say about
But
that.
you guys got a good season out of Aaron Judge.
We did.
Hopefully, you'll do the right thing and renegotiate the contract the
We
right
hope.
way.
Yeah,
You had some issues years ago.
we'll see.
With some stars.
Robinson Cano made the leap to go to Seattle. He took the money.
Took the money right away.
And I said at the time he would have been, a person in Monument Park. He would have been a legendary Yankee, but he chose to go to Seattle for the money.
All
And that's no shade for anybody else's team, but the legacy of the New York Yankees, even the day after they get swept in the playoffs, is still a legacy that is unmatched by any other team in the profession.
I'm gonna let you have it because I'd look salty if I didn't address it and say, of course.
It's a fact, though.
This is why I have the hat on.
It's not a debatable fact.
It's not.
You have 27, championships in your sport, and then the next closest that I could think of is probably the Celtics at like 16.
And
so
some of the marquee players in the league for years.
So today is not the day for me to wax poetic at the Yankees' greatness. That's not what I'm saying.
I don't know how much of that I could take, bro.
Well, that was more of a reference. There was more of a reference to your comment about Aaron Judge's impending free agency and how others in the past had gone in a different direction, and Robinson Cano's career is tarnished because of other reasons. But dude, you went to Seattle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, there were. First of all, if you're there at the Yankees and you're being paid and getting what you need. And I say this on Wednesdays when I'm doing sports with the ladies. You don't have to be a fan to acknowledge the stats and what things mean.
Right.
When Canute decided that he was out, I immediately was like, well, where are you going to go that's better for you?
Seattle.
And when he chose Seattle, I was like, whatever happens to your career,
Seattle,
you deserve it.
Yeah, it's Seattle, So anyway, good luck to the Houston Astros and the Philadelphia Phillies in the World Series. I couldn't possibly care less who wins. Once my team lost, I guess if I had to, I would root. I guess I would, but I never root for a team unless it's my team.
Me too.
I'm not built for that. I just won't do it.
I don't have 2 or 3 teams in any sport.
Hell no.
This is my team. That's how I live.
This is my team.
Listen, how do you call it the World Series when the 2 teams that's playing are like, I mean, Philly not as much as Houston, but they're damn near flyover cities. Like they really don't. What market do they have?
Well, I mean,
They
I
not.
don't think they.
That's a level of
That's
a
yeah.
level of analysis that I don't even. I mean, you know why it's called the World Series.
Right.
I'm not doing this. I'm
Right,
not doing that
but
with you.
here's what I'm saying.
not.
Here's,
So
here's what I'm saying. Like
okay,
for me, I wear this hat and I enjoy a good baseball game. But wearing this hat has so much more to do to it represents so much more than playing baseball to me.
no, I can dig it.
It is representation of an exceptional practice of sports business and representation of a city that is acknowledged as one of the centers of the world.
And
right?
it is the most recognizable brand, one of the most recognizable brands ever.
Right.
Ever.
Period.
Yeah.
So
I've been overseas and seen it.
Oh, you gonna
So-
see
so-
the
so-
interlocking
look,
NY. You gonna see it.
last summer we went to a Marlins game
Yes, we did.
and we outnumbered the Marlins.
We were in Miami, John and I.
I remember.
We went to go see the Yankees play Miami, and it was more Yankees fans there than there were
Flat
Marlins
out.
fans.
Flat
And
out.
it was noticeable. You could feel it.
So
You could feel it.
with that being said, that is part of why I wear the hat. I
Okay.
do enjoy baseball. I enjoy Yankee baseball, but wearing the hat has more to do
It's more
with
cultural.
the franchise, the culture.
It's more cultural. Like for
Mm.
me, I am a I don't know if superstition is the right word, but I'm the kind of fan that yesterday I retired all my Yankees gear until April when they play their first game. That's how I am. I don't wear the team's paraphernalia out of season. I just I've never done that. I don't, it's not a thing where it's a shade thing for the Yankees. I mean, or the Knicks. I've started wearing their gear because they first played last Wednesday.
Yeah.
I hadn't worn a Knicks shirt or anything Knicks paraphernalia since the spring. So it's just what it is. Ain't no Steppin Marcus J live from New Dan Legacy in that radio. Let's get some salutations. We're getting some love. Good day, family, from my brother Antonio. Tim, man, what's happening, brother? Appreciate you, man. Little sis is checking in, y'all. She is saying good morning. It's been a while since we've had some love from you, and we appreciate you. And the team gives you the same salutations that we give to your big sis and ours as we look into the camera and we say, good morning, Lathrell. Yeah, peace. Ain't no Steppin Marcus J live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio. All right, so let's get started. There's so much to do tonight, and we normally would spend a little bit more time in salutations, but we did get a tad bit of a late start today, and quite frankly, the agenda is so stacked that I think is probably more appropriate for us to get to it. So, Steph, I posted something over the weekend, and it had gotten some attention from a lot of people, our sisters in particular. And so I'm looking for the post now, but I'm going to read this post. Here it is. I'm going to read this post, right? It's a little bit long, but trust me, it's worth it. Now, once I finish reading this, I want you to respond first, okay? All right, so the sister Nalaya Sabnis, that's her name. She's someone on Facebook. We just happened to see her post. It went viral, and then we shared it, and it's gone viral amongst us. So I'm just gonna read it. I'll be 42 soon. I did everything wrong. I never got married. I never made humans. I don't own a house or a boat or a 401k. I didn't become a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer or a wife or a mom. I don't have a 5-year plan. I never know where my next paycheck is coming from. I rarely know what city I'm in when I wake up in the morning. I keep switching careers and starting from scratch the minute I find success. I've accomplished exactly none of the things. F minus. Just an unpredictable free woman, artist, explorer, and happy failure to society this morning on the open road, blasting Renaissance on my way to dance and soak in Big Sur after 19 straight days of work and travel that felt like fun. I've let the system down miserably. The shame. 10 out of 10 would recommend. The path of the black sheep is not for the faint of heart, but today there is unbridled joy. That is the end. And she went viral. And it was just something about when I read that that I instantly knew why it went viral. And you and I talked about this, not in a conversation wise, but in a we should talk about this kind of way. And so here we are, Steph. So let's talk about it. You lead us off. What is it about that, in your opinion, that caused it to go viral? What is it that she said that has resonated with people?
So, my experience just in the coaching space, everything that she is talking about are the things that the people I coach are worried about. They're consistently worried about not making enough money, not being successful, not being perceived as successful, not um, having everything lined up and prepared for retirement, just all those things. And I think there's, even if you're not the person, like I'm not a person that can function that way, right? Even if you aren't a person that can function in such a freewheeling way, there's a lot to be said for it. Now, I believe that what is most impactful about it is she made decisions not to have to worry about anybody else so that she can live exactly the way she wants, right? No children, no husband, just free and easy. And when you choose those things, you can decide, to not know where your next paycheck is coming from. I don't recommend it for everyone because everyone cannot mentally manage that. But I think what is really intriguing is the fact that she is not living according to societal pressure. And whether people sit around and say, it's I don't care, I do what I want, this, that, and the other. That's not true. For the majority of people, they are living up to societal expectations. May not call it pressure, but you're living according to how you're supposed to live or what you're expected to do. And she's someone who's coming out like, yeah, I haven't done any of those things, but I'm perfectly happy. And, I found it very responsible of her that if that's how she chooses to live, not knowing where her next paycheck comes from, which also means not knowing where your next meal comes from and all those other things, or not identifying stability from money, then you don't have children. Then, if you want to get married, you have to marry someone with that same mindset. But we are societally pushed and navigated into the expectation of how we live and what we're going to do. And I think that's why people were so intrigued by it, because part of it is it's a way that 99% of the people are not going to live. 99% of the people are going to choose stability, whether that stability looks like a $15 an hour job or a $50,000 $50,000 a year salary or 6 figures plus. Everyone is truly seeking stability because for the most part, that's what the emotional center is craving, whatever it looks like to you. Her stability is coming from releasing expectations that anybody else has from her and being willing to, the rest of the stuff doesn't feel as bad as that to her. And that's intriguing. Is it realistic for most people? I don't think so. And I don't think so even if they put aside what society expects. Most people are staging expectations for themselves that are attached to, the desires they have in a world where not having money, or in a country where not having money would limit the ability to satisfy that. So again, I think people are intrigued by it. I think the story is great. Although, at some point it's like, okay, well, you worked 19 days in a row, blah, blah, blah. What was that? I don't know. I started picking it apart a little bit. But I think the ultimate thing in there is do what satisfies you. And that was impactful because most people are not doing that.
I can dig it. John, what do you think?
I think as this show progresses, this was a perfect lead because it's going to take us into so much of what people readily accept, right? What's normal and what's not normal. And because of that, we have all of these issues and arguments in society about different things that should not be argued. There should be no argument about abortion, especially in the case of incest, rape, or health. There should be, the argument should not even be there, right? If somebody's going to say, oh, I'm pro-lifer and I don't like, but off the table automatically, rape, incest rape, health of the mother and child should be off the table. It shouldn't even be a conversation. Not personally, I don't think it should be a conversation at all, but automatically in your brain, if the child's life is in danger, if the mother's life is in danger, if it was a rape, or if it was an incest where the child was involved, pedophilia. Why are we talking? There's nothing nobody could ever say about that. But society has made it so that we have these conversations and people want to accept things, right? And when somebody says, no, I'm not going to accept that, they get ostracized. They get overly criticized. But there's nothing wrong with that. Just because she's a woman, she's supposed to get married and have children.
Yes, that's what people tell us.
Right. But exactly. But hell no.
That is the pressure.
But hell no.
Right. I'll tell you something. I went and started digging a little bit into the comments, and that was one of the things that people grabbed onto so significantly. One day you might regret not having children.
One day you might
regret having them.
Right. The day after you had them, probably started regretting.
Right.
Let's be real. I tell people this all the time. I love my children. They're my only source of pride. They're the only thing in this world I can really stick my chest out about. But it wasn't easy, right? And if people ask me, I tell them all the time, please, if you want to do it, wait. That's the first thing, wait.
Yes.
Wait, live some life. And guess what? What this woman is doing is what people fight for 20 to 35 years in their life, in their prime of life, to get to.
Yeah.
They want to be empty nesters, right? So they don't have children, right? They want to be financially stable enough to be able to travel and do and make their own decisions and not have decisions made for them. Folks, this whole have some kids and get a job is set up to keep rich folks rich. That's the whole point. Got to be workers. You got to have more babies to pay taxes and put in prisons. You got to keep feeding the machine like the Matrix. You got to put batteries in there. You got to keep doing it. And people, I say, don't wait till you're almost dead to decide that you're ready to live.
That's the real thing. I don't know that there's much more that I can add that hasn't already been said. I mean, she's 42 years old, never been married, never had children. So, I think society has this way of gripping us with what it expects us to do and be and function. But, we are people first. We're individuals first, and we should be the ones that get to decide what's important for us. And whenever I hear a person make that comment to a woman about how they may regret not having children one day if they've chosen in their younger lives to not, it's like, so what? Like, so what? Like, this thing that we do in our country where we impose our will onto other people and expect them to move like we would move is just, that's the craziest thing. Like, I've always been a live and let live type of cat. Always. Always been this way. I'm more comfortable in it now than I used to be, but I've always been this way. It's like, stop trying to mess with people around your stuff. It's like, isn't the real cool thing about us being here is the fact that we are all our own people, but we can still be in community and come together? You know what I mean? Like we do here. John is his own man. Steph is her own woman. I'm my own man. But we're very different, but like-minded people. But even if we weren't, we would we would still value each other as people, as individuals. Like, your background is not mine. And guess what? I don't want to live John's way. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that John wants to live my way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I just, I understand that there are certain societal things that we do intellectually. Intellectually, I get it. But why this went viral, or should I say resonated with me, was this is the stage of life that I feel that I'm in. I'm saying the things that I want to say, and I'm living the way that I want to live. And those folks who don't care for it, so what? And clearly that's how she's living.
She does
You
not
you
care.
made such a point right there when you said something a moment ago about not wanting to live somebody else's life. But guess what? There's a difference between envy and jealous, being envious and being jealous, right? I can see a lot of different parts of people's lives, and I go and I envy that, but I'm not jealous of it because I don't necessarily want it. But the fact that they have it and it's an admirable situation makes me feel like, yeah, this person, is doing something fantastic. And that's wonderful. But I don't necessarily want it. Right. So that's the love versus the hate. So we get those cross comments because those people took 20, 30 years of their life and banked it on the idea of 2.5 kids, a dog, and a dead end career, right? Social Security and a 401k that's tanking right now. So this woman did something and as opposed to going, good for you, they want to say, well, why,
you're gonna regret it later. That's the big thing.
I have a couple of friends.
Who knows when later, if later is coming.
I have a couple of friends who are my age who don't have children and they don't regret it.
Yeah.
Right. And listen, if you feeling funny about not having children, my sister had 12, so she covered for you.
Right.
You could borrow one of hers. She did her job.
Let
for
me
society.
tell you something. My grandmother had
all her husband, all the same family, right? Teenage lovers, teenage sweethearts, married, 12 children, $8,000. So we good.
You good. And you know what's funny about that? My grandmother had 14 children, 12 survived, with her husband, my grandfather. And when I had 2 children, and I was like, yeah, we're thinking about one more. She said, well, what do you want? Puppies?
A litter?
This was a woman who had her own litter of children telling
that was
me
then.
But my major point is she was telling me it doesn't have to validate you. You don't need to do this. You could have not had any. When you hear somebody from a certain generation who's had 10 plus children and they look at you and they're like, do something different. That is the problem, is that women immediately get attached or trained from birth. You're going to have children. You're going to get married. I mean, you start with little girls. They literally are grooming little girls at a young age to prepare to be somebody's wife.
Find a husband.
Right. It's always shocking to me when people see a little girl
I'm gonna get some grandbabies
dressed a certain way and they're like, oh, she's dressed so grown, but you've been speaking grown language to her from the moment she was able to walk. Better learn how to cook. When I remember when my daughter looked at me and I was like, hey, do you want to, because my son was very much into being in the kitchen and cooking. And I said to my daughter, I was like, do you want to learn how to cook? She was like, no, I'm going to have money and a husband. And my husband will make sure that I don't have to cook. We'll have a maid. I allowed her to move forward that way. What I said to her was, look, all I want you to do is be able to provide a meal for yourself. I don't care where it comes from. You don't have to have a husband. You don't have to have any of that. You don't have to be in this kitchen cooking. That was not a validation. this woman is living outside of how women are forced to be validated in society. And that's what has people either worked up or applauding her, because the women that are living according to society's model, we all have had questions and conversations and statements of what we would have done differently.
Let me read a comment from a different sister who has a different perspective. And, you know, at the risk of having you speak for all the sisters in the world, that's not what's happening here.
I never am. I love my sisterhood, but they are capable of
I'm
speaking
just
their
making
own
sure
truth.
that the listeners know, because
Thank
I know
you,
that you
brother.
know that's not what's happening here. But as the lone sister here, I
and
would.
this is a friend of mine that you're getting ready to talk about.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I would like to have your comment first, out of respect that of the fact that you are probably more relatable to these two topics than we would be.
Okay.
Not that we're asking for you to speak for ladies. That is the distinction that I want to lay here. But I'm also going to put this one on the screen as well, and you should, folks, be able to read this one as well. I'll read from Miss Leandra Lee Baker here. The other reason that women don't deeply understand the connection between men and mistresses is because men have basically unlimited options of partner. As I've said before, which people always want to argue with me about, most women are taught to be good partners to men from the moment they are little girls. Men have many, many options in partner. Imagine you're dating a guy, but all of these equally eligible men keep coming up to you like, I can treat you better. I'll do more for you than he will. For the most part, such a thing will never be a reality for women. We know that when we get a good man, we better not fuck it up, because it's highly unlikely we will find we will find the exact same thing again. This is not the reality men live in. Men have options, real options, not the options we pretend we have as women, because men exist in this other reality where there are literally great options of women around you at all times. It's hard for you to truly have loyalty for that one partner, even if she's good. There's always someone better, someone prettier, someone willing to do more. We are more loyal when we find a partner because we have few options, and that is the end. So she said a lot. Let me get comment in from our family, and then I'll have you jump back in here, Steph. I got comments coming from multiple places, so folks, bear with me. But my dear sister Nikki Nick is checking in. So much happiness and pride in you checking in with us tonight, and I know what you're doing down there, and we are very proud of you. If you ever decided you wanted to come on here to talk about that, you know what I'm saying, and I would love to have you on to talk about what you know you're doing. So, but anyway, she says she may need to call, and she loves this topic. So.
Call, please.
By all
call.
means, you know, I will put the phone number up on the screen here in just a moment, but the phone number is 804-402-2893. That is the number to dial if you want to rock with us. We'll, in fact, roll with y'all. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial if you want to get in on this topic. But Steph, you said that's someone that you know personally.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that comment there. What's your thoughts?
So, you know, I'm always proud of the Black women that have conversations with one another without considering the male gaze. Because if we have this conversation in truth in public, the male voice, the male gaze, all of that becomes more important. There will be women in the room that are desperate to prove differently to the men that are present. There will be men who will speak over the women. Leandra makes an excellent point. Now, you know, I know the way that she started when she said what she said about mistresses might have thrown people off, but it is a very real assessment. It's real. You know, it boils down to, so first of all, because I want to go back to her actual post. Most women are taught to be good partners to men from the moment they are little girls. You hear men, they'll deny that. Well, yeah, I was told to be no, because you also will hear those same men talk about sowing their oats and being out and about and so on and so forth. Sex is not something that they're shamed for at young ages, men. So young women from a young age are typically being groomed to be ready to be a partner. And it automatically puts you in a frame of mind of where I have to be eligible for them. And then when you are a Black woman, statistically, even for the past maybe 15 years or so, employment and education we've been leading in. I have had men throw in my face that they're a good man. Do you know why they're throwing that in my face? Because they know how many bad ones are out there. They know. They don't want to admit it. They'll be ready to argue because this post will not tickle their balls the way they need it to. But it is the truth. If you are, and I've said this to my son, when we talked about dating and dating options, I have said to him, as a young Black man who is educated, a polyglot, has all these great things going for himself, he has no limit of Black female options. No limit. They exist. We are out here. When we start to date the wrong way, because we know men will hop away very easily, infidelity and all those other things, women will hold on to that one thing that they have because we haven't been told you have options. Hop off, leave, go somewhere else. We're not typically trained that way. We're trained to find that one partner and buckle down. But men who are eligible, please meet a Black man, be a Black woman, meet a Black man who's making six figures and so on and so forth. It's interesting because they immediately assigned that value, saying that women establish that. Women don't establish value of money and worth. That is a patriarchal establishment. We live within it. It wasn't established for us or by us. Men are, caveman, ooh ha ha, with the money thing. That it just so happens that because we are, again, reared from the very beginning, identify a provider, identify this, we don't look at our options very deeply. And we have very limited options. So we get that guy who has 2 out of 10 things that we want. 2 out of 10. And may hang on to him because the chances of running into a 2 out of 10 to a 5 out of 10 are going to be pretty low. So you are hanging on to those limited options. Whereas on the other end, it does create a certain level of loyalty because of the fear of loss. Even when you should walk away. She's making an excellent point. When I mean, I would challenge men. Think of all the women that you have said, y'all just ain't picking right. Just think of all those women. It's not that she's not picking right. It's that the options are very few and far between. And when she gets that one and that one is not living up to the standard she really deserves, it's, well, what else is out there? Men will easily leave, cheat, hold on to 2, 3, 4, 5 women. I was watching a murder crime the other day and the guy was like, yeah, I'm not a murderer. My only crime is, I'm a cheater. And it was very comfortable for him, because he's been raised to understand that he has options. He's also been raised to have full sexual autonomy, which creates another level of option. Oh, I can use this anywhere I want to, and my value doesn't drop. I have seen women stay in certain relationships because they don't want, quote unquote, bodies. All of these things are used, and you can shake your head because it is crazy. It's crazy. I hate that it happens. I hate that we all have done it. I'm raising my hand. I hate that we all have done it, but it is how we are societally cultivated. It is dads posting pictures of themselves with shotguns, talking about, yeah, when they come around here for my daughter, making dating an uncomfortable situation. She should be able to date 10, 15, 20 guys to figure out who she likes. Dating is not fucking. Calm down. But because of societal implications, she's pushed into this box, and then later on makes these poor decisions because she is taught to cling to these very limited options. And for Black women, it is, and she specifically, I know, is speaking for the sisterhood. She runs a group called Black Feminist Theory. This is a young woman. When I say a highly intelligent, thoughtful young woman, she often holds women accountable for what they do. She even will say, she had another post where she was like, y'all don't want to be free. She said men are judging women on the basis of, boob size, how big her booty is, all her physical attributes. But if we were to do that to men, it would be problematic. So what do we do? What do men say? Oh, well, you judging me based on my money or this, that, and the other, because that's an almost uncontrollable thing. And her statement was, no, judge them for their dick size, for their physical attributes. They should have to be held to the same standard as women.
Yeah.
And she makes a lot of sense. But again, because we are so limited in the options that we have, we ingrain loyalty into ourselves. We will sit and wait for a bad option to get out of jail. I have people, family members who work in the prison system and will tell you it's a sparse day when the women have visiting day. But they will watch these men have 5 and 6 visitors, rushing one out to get to the next one. You can't even be loyal on lockdown. So my sister Leandra, she nailed it.
Yeah.
Period. She nailed it.
I have Steppin, Marcus J live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio. We got a couple of things to get to, John. Our brother Coach Miz, radio alumni, and our brother is checking us out. James Mayfield is checking us out. We're getting a call. Let's get this caller in. Has Steppin, Marcus J live from New Den Legacy in the radio. Caller, you on the live line. What's your name? What's your comment? Yo, what's happening? What's going on? What's your name? What's your comment? Is this Nicky Nick? Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay. What's your comment? Go ahead and get in. And I'm so glad that you called in. And you got stuff going on. We need to talk. We need to talk to you on air, don't we? Yeah, yeah, yeah. We gonna work through the muffle. Let's get it. What's your comment? It came up in context, but all of that kind of stuff is on the table. So if you want to get into it, let's get it. So let me do this because Steph wants to comment. So let's go ahead and have a conversation. Can you hear me better now? All right. So Steph is going to respond to what you're saying. Go ahead, Steph.
Okay.
All right. So we're
In
we're
your
we're,
opinion.
we're going to respond to that. Go ahead, Steph.
So, one, the reason that the federal law being overturned is problematic is because it immediately triggered all of those state laws, and those state laws were in waiting. So, it is problematic. It is something for people to be in an uproar for. Two, accountability for me is not the business, is what I really look at with this entire thing. We have all these spaces where we are so bothered by expecting the government to make us accountable, or to be accountable, or to be accountable for us. And then when it comes to women's rights, all of a sudden we want to be the accountability police. I think what happens is a lot of those inflated, overstated, uninformed statements for people who are anti-choice become the primary focus. And I'm not saying that's you, but I'm saying that that is the side of those who are anti-choice. They immediately go to the most to the statistic that is meant to trigger. It's meant to trigger feelings, it's meant to trigger emotions, it's meant to trigger panic. The majority of abortions, according to the Pew Research Center, were not committed for the sake of natural contraception. They were not. They were the majority of abortions that were had because someone was not either not capable of carrying to term successfully. And I will even say this, if they were because someone wasn't prepared or ready. I always find it interesting when women use terminology that men subscribe to. Oh, she opened her legs, and immediately make it some negative choice that women make. We want women to be accountable, but we want to take away tools for accountability. Yes, if I so choose to manage my body accordingly. I don't understand. And that was the point that John was making earlier about that post. Why is it a conversation? It's a conversation because society wants to dictate what every individual is doing. If me choosing not to have a baby is not making waves in your pool, I don't understand your concern or interest. If you don't like abortion, do not have one. It's very simple. Just don't have one. And guess what? I won't make you. I won't force you. And most abortions that are past 21 weeks, and this is coming from the CDC, not, because I know a lot of the facts lately have been coming from Hotep websites where they believe that majority of abortions are targeting Black people and so on and so forth. I have statements about that too that come from scientific data. But the majority of people that are having abortions past 21 weeks wanted to have that baby. It is disingenuous and responsible to state otherwise, because statistically, according to the CDC and according to the Pew Research Center, that is not the case. It is the case that that woman wanted to have a baby, and there's a reason she can't. However, I go right back to that statement of accountability. If a woman chooses not to have a child, and you don't have to be accountable for raising it, because let's be clear, Black children sit in foster care and age out of foster care more than anybody. So all these people screaming about abortion, and none of them are adopting people. None of them are pulling. As a matter of fact, the majority of foster families are not Black, which is another problem. So I really just go back to the statement of, while I may be pro-choice for Steph B, which I am, I chose to have two children. I'm sorry that wasn't a choice for you. I hate when I hear that a woman wants to have children and could not. But I often request that because something did not work in your camp, do not make it a judgment or a decision for why it had to be something for someone else. That's my only request.
All right. You got the last word here. You got the last word. Go ahead. Well, we know that most rapes are not reported. We know that, right? Most rapes are not reported. We know that, right? Right. All right. Well, right. I know, I no, no. In the interest of time, we don't have the time to go back and forth like we would like to. But if we had an opportunity to have a bigger conversation here, by all means, we certainly will. But in the context of the smaller conversation, we're gonna go ahead and leave it there. Nikki, we appreciate you rocking with us tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are always welcome, absolutely. But we're gonna go ahead and move on from here. All right, we'll talk to you soon. You got it. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from New Dan Legacy and the radio. For some reason, the listeners weren't hearing her. So that's the reason why I wanted to. We can hear her, but apparently, the listeners were unable to hear her because we had Uncle H told us so, and our number one guest who joins us, who said good morning, also said is someone talking, and so during the time when Nikki was talking, it was dead air. So we appreciate your patience, folks who are listening. We had someone that called in, and for some strange technical reason, for the second time in the previous 2 weeks, we had an issue where you guys couldn't hear her. But we'll work on that. We'll get that straight. But our favorite listener checked in. That's the point. And so as we do at this stage of the show every single week, we look into the camera and we say,
Good morning, Sue.
Yes, ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from New Dan Legacy and the radio. So unfortunately, John, you don't get to respond to our caller, but you get to respond to what our caller said if that is your pleasure.
Well,
So
no. I want to do that, but I'm gonna do it real quick and get back to where we were about the other stuff because it kind of fits into the same thing. All I will tell people who have issues with abortion and abortion rights and all this kind of stuff. For a while in China, you could only have one child, right? So think about a woman's right to have an abortion, and then think about the government telling you you have to have an abortion, because that's the other side of the coin. So if you want to rock about your pro-life and all this, and the baby has a right, and even me as a man, masculine dude that I am, nobody talks to the dad and see what. Listen, the government should not dictate what anybody does with their body, right? And in China, they was forcing abortions. So if you're a person who says you should be forced to have a baby, that means you should be on the other side of that saying you should be able to be forced to have an abortion too. But Right, but you not with that because you with your mystery white god who says it's wrong. Anyway, back to the thing with the women and the men in relationships. Yeah, because it all comes down to that. White supremacy, racism, and white Jesus. It all comes down to that. All of that is the illusion to keep people from realizing that they starving themselves to death.
And they have no clue that a lot of those misstated, I don't want to call them facts, those misstatements they're making were fed into the system by a very specific machine.
Let me tell you about
very
something.
Specific machine.
As a person who loves numbers, numbers is more my God than anything else because they don't lie to me, right? You can manipulate a percentage to make it to be anything you want it to be.
True.
Trust me, I've spent my time in boardrooms and made presentations and made disaster sound glorious. All right. So, and that also,
what Nick, I'll call her Nikki. She loves your comment on no white guy, by the way.
Oh, yeah. So
yeah.
So my thing is when you were speaking about women and their lack of choices, I've said that so many times. Y'all don't. The pickings is slim, and with black women is slimmer than slim. It's almost not even there. But you said something that triggered something in my thought process too. You were like, if a guy got 2 out of the 10 things we want, we should, people are telling us be happy with that.
Are you going to go with the 80-20?
No, I'm not going with that. No. No, I'm not going with the 80-20. What I'm saying is this, right? The difference with men and women, it's not so much what the young lady said about we have this plethora of choices. No, it's not that we have all of these people throwing themselves at us and like we're not getting approached. What it is we ain't got a whole bunch of stuff. We ain't got a whole list of stuff we looking for. No, men, when it comes to things, men are pretty simplistic, right?
There are entire rooms, John, that are created to pick apart 1, 2, 3 physical attributes.
And guess what they are? They full of it, right? And I will tell you, men, we are simple. We see something we like it. Oh, I like that. I want to get with her. And then he gonna do whatever he thinks he needs to do to get with her. And all she ever got to do, right, to keep him with her is feed him, fuck him, and don't overtalk him.
And that's a lie.
It's the truth.
He's still going to do those other things.
He can't.
That is the point.
No, listen.
That's a lie, John.
A woman can
it's
render
such a misstatement.
a woman can render a man physically unable to cheat.
And
I know it.
Bullshit.
It has happened to me.
That's you. But I will tell you, I have watched a sister drive a man, let a man drive her to work in her car for him to go and do. There's plenty of baby boys in this world.
I get it.
For him to go and do whatever he does. The entire it's absolutely.
Listen, I'm telling you,
as
a man, right? I'm not talking. Listen,
hold on,
one
y'all.
thing I want to be, but I want to finish my statement.
I got you, but I'm just going to ask you one question before you finish your statement.
Right.
Just one question. Really?
Okay. I've been rendered. I have been rendered.
You deserve the rock eyebrow with the really.
Yeah,
Thank
really.
You. Thank
yes,
you,
because let me tell you this, right?
Okay.
When you're in a situation,
they cheated on Halle Berry.
Yeah, but guess what though? Guess what? Listen, cheating on Halle. The way she
listen a couple weeks ago.
The way she looked.
Listen,
the way she looks.
It's a misnomer. And
no,
I got
it's not.
You.
The way she looks isn't what we're talking about. What we're
I
talking about is.
I got you.
Listen, you getting ready to go to work? Yeah, come here. Come here for a minute.
No, John.
Right?
I really hate that you are making this so small.
Listen, I'm telling you how basic we over romanticize and overcomplicate men for no reason.
She's not overcomplicating you. That's the important part.
If a man ain't got no ammo, he ain't trying to shoot. Right?
Are you kidding?
I'm telling you.
You're not a woman, John. Be quiet.
I
have literally been driving a BMW and a guy roll up on
your flag on that
school
I'm a man.
to talk to me.
Listen,
I am a woman.
I don't try to speak on woman stuff. I'm speaking on man
We're
stuff.
We're speaking on relationship stuff,
I'm speaking on man stuff. A man who is drained is not out there looking to be more drained.
John, stop it.
You
I'm
speak-
telling you,
you
And stop
speaking.
minimizing it down to just sex, because that's
But
not
that's-
what the statement
listen.
was.
But here's the thing.
And if it was
but
just
this is
that,
what
y'all wouldn't.
this is what I'm trying to say. For men, it ain't just sex.
Oh my god!
But it's mostly sex,
right?
Because if
from
it wasn't-
multiple people.
Because if it wasn't for sex, it wouldn't make a difference. We wouldn't do 90% of the
John,
shit we
stop it.
do.
Stop it.
Most of what
these
we
women
do-
are just not out here.
No.
The women who are having abortions and too many kids and spreading their legs
I'm
open.
not talking
So now,
about that
ironically, they're
anymore.
not having sex.
No,
and that's why men are cheating.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm not
No,
talking about
but
men.
I'm saying either.
Listen,
which one is
listen,
it?
Here's what it is. Men are simple. It's not. I'm trying to
Oh
get
my
back
God.
to it.
It doesn't mean you're not cheating.
Women's emotional needs, physical needs, and different needs and things that they have in their basket when they're choosing a mate is a much larger basket than what men have when they're choosing
And that's why the
their
basket
mate.
is so small.
But again, I started with that. Listen. That's because that's what men are about. That's what men are about. Right? That's what men are about. A man is very simple. We don't need a lot. Right? But most of the time, men cheat because of availability. Right? Because of what
There's
is
some
made
truth to that.
available. Right?
There's-
Because what is made available, opportunity, not option, opportunity, because
but that's kind of
women,
what she said, though.
no, opportunity is different from option because
not.
I'm
Alright.
gonna tell you,
Finish your
When-
point so
here-
that we
here's
can
my
move
point.
this on.
Here's my point. Opportunity is different than option because women are approached for sex 10 times as much as men are approached for sex. Men have to go looking for sex, and women are hunted down for sex.
None of this.
So
speaks
women
to the
have an
point.
option to women turn down more sex than men ever get.
This is not the argument. This is not the
But
conversation. I'm out.
it is from a man's perspective.
And this is exactly why
is from a
relationships don't
man's-
work, because you can't even sit here and have a conversation with me about what a woman is saying about a woman's experience.
I
As
haven't
people
denied
who
her
date-
experience.
who
All I'm
date
talking
men,
about
and
is a
you're going
man.
Hold
to
on.
the limitation of it's just about sex. The point that she is making is not that men are just cheating for the sake of cheating. It is that you said available options. Absolutely. We don't have options like that.
You don't
And
exercise your
we don't
options
want-
because that's not who you are.
Majority
Men
of
exercise their options because that's who we are.
All right, so listen, we getting another caller, but I'm not sure what. I'm not sure if the listeners can hear our caller, but caller, we're going to try. What's your name and what's your comment? Yes, what's your comment? Go for it. Go ahead and make your point. We got you. Go ahead and make your point. We got you. We're having some technical issues with our caller. So, folks, I'm sorry, we had to let our caller go, but we'll have to move it on. Let me step in here, and I'm going to shift the show here to get us kind of recalibrated. I guess we're the disconnect. First of all, Coach is. Let me see. Coach has his comment here, and Coach says that he doesn't agree. He says, not true. not true always. Nikki, who called in earlier, she says she wants to get in the car, sit next to you because of what you said. We'll figure out what's going on with the phones, and we'll worry about that another time. I shut the phones down, so I'm gonna keep the phone scroll. If you see the phone number scrolling on the screen, don't worry about it. I shut the phones off. You want to get in, comment right here. We'll read your comment on the air. But I understand what John is saying. I don't necessarily agree with John is saying, because John, I think you're minimizing the plight and the experience of people who happen to not share your gender. When we say things like, as a man, we're simple, I understand that because I'm a man and I'm simple. But I also understand that I'm not the only person here. I'm not the only person in the relationship. And my simplicity is only a part of what it is that I'm trying to do and build with her. You see what I'm saying? So it's hard for a woman to hear a man talk about feed me, fuck me, and catch me on the way out the door, where that minimizes her entire existence with regards to the things that are important to her. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's what your intention was, but I'm telling you that's how it came off. I'm telling you. I'm not yet.
No.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
That's how it.
Fix it then.
Okay, then fine, fix it. But that's how it came off, and that's how it often comes off as men, because we are often in the driver's seat for the very reason that the sister said. She's right. She's absolutely right. And how do I know this? Because I went to an HBCU where it is on full display right in front of us. When you show up there, you know, as a dude, that you got to pick, because it's more of them than it is of you. And this is the first time in your life where you were experienced that. When you're 18 years old as a man, you realize it's more women than it is competition for the women. And it's not the same for them. We can sit here and try to equate our experiences. That's bullshit. As men, we know it. We know it. So when you know better, you do better. And when you're younger, you care less. When you're older, you're supposed to know better. We know better. We know that leading with our desires and physical passions is not the way that we have harmonious relationships with our women, even if we choose to have many of them.
So I'll say this.
I know what I said.
So I'll say this. I'll say this. I'll say this to
y'all should give me credit.
To a man.
He cut me off while I was still talking,
like,
and I'm giving you giving me the face. That's what he should be giving me. Instead of stealing my thunder. I wasn't finished, but you can have it.
I want
man.
you to.
But she
You can
interrupted
have it,
before.
man.
No,
Why
I
you always
didn't.
get
I
at me
wanna
for
hear
interrupting?
Marcus
Because she
continue.
co-signs me. So when she
Okay,
if you
you'll
co-sign
take
me, you
interruption
can
on the
cut.
co-sign, but
Hey,
not a
All I did.
The one thing
What?
about
It was
me,
so-
I'm transparent as fuck when it
Okay.
comes to stuff. If you agree with me, you can cut me off. But if you're going to dispute me, then let me finish before you dispute me.
And all I was
I'm not
really saying
disputing
was-
you.
Go ahead.
I'm not disputing you. I'm amending what I said, because if you're telling me that's how it came off, then that's not what it's about.
But
What it's about
but
is
you shouldn't have had to been told that. That's kind of the point.
yeah, but again, I got to be me,
I can dig it,
right?
But it's
so
problematic,
but there's
John.
something about knowing
but
better.
then it needs to be be
You
problematic, because I'm
think
making a statement.
you think it's okay for middle-aged men to say openly, feed me, fuck me, and when I'm about to leave, I'm good. Make sure I'm good, and
I
fuck
won't
what's
do
going on with
anything.
her. Like,
no,
you,
it's not.
but that's
First
what
of
you
all,
said,
but
though.
see, again, people do this often, and we're gonna get more into this conversation later. People add on their stuff to
That ain't what
something
I'm
else.
doing, though.
That ain't. But it can't, because I never said forget about what you're going through.
You did not
No,
say
but
that.
that's
Right.
not
You did
what
not say that.
But again, if that was what was implied, or that's what someone perceived, this is why now I want to correct it. My whole point of making that statement was to go back to the initial thing, and what the woman said that went viral about the options and men's. That what I was trying to say overall was men's options, right, or opportunities are greater based on the fact that we are far simpler with what we are looking for, what we expect. Our expectation and what we're looking for is a smaller thing. We will accept more, and women should, not saying that women should accept less, right? Or should put up with bullshit. I'm not saying that at all. And I'm not saying that everything that a woman expects in a relationship and out of a mate isn't paramount and important. That is not all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is men don't have those same type of concerns. And because we don't have those same type of concerns, we exercise options in a different way. Because mentally, we just don't, we check out a lot of time. We really don't care. If a nice looking woman says that she wants to have sex with you as a man, you don't try to qualify her the same way a woman might try to qualify a man who comes up to her and says, I want to have sex with you. Right? A woman is going to for the most part, not every woman, because all women are not the same. But for the most part, a woman is going to qualify that man on a lot of different things before she decides whether or not she's going to have sex with him. A man is going to try to figure out, one, if he's in a relationship, is he going to get caught? Two, does she have a transmittable disease? And three, is she really a woman? And why is she coming up to me? But it's the truth. It's the truth. You don't believe me? Ask some people in Atlanta. These are issues. These are how men qualify things. We don't think about the long term and this, and is a good person, and is he Christian and God fearing? Is she a Christian? Does she have a good job? Does she have a relationship with her family?
Do you really think that's everything women think about?
No, I'm not saying
we are. You know, I hate that because it's often used as a way to say, oh, it's because you guys are more complex. No, if Method Man walks in here right now, I'm not going, is he a good guy? Is he a Christian? Does he have a wife? No.
We're not talking about
Method here with
Method Man. That's because you know Method Man.
If Method Man didn't have a name and looked exactly the way he does, and I'm a single woman, I'm not going back. Is he that? No.
All women are not the same. I said that, Steph.
Are all men, but
but for the majority of which they do.
On. We know how. This is the thing. Y'all are not comfortable with the idea that we are perfectly comfortable with this, with sexuality. As a matter of fact, when a woman is sexually forward, it is so uncomfortable for men for the most part. It is very uncomfortable for men for the most part. You'll say it doesn't bother you, but I watch sexually forward women get shamed all the time, so it's bullshit.
But that's true. That's true. But he goes, the same percentage of women that are sexually forward.
Hold on. She didn't finish her point. Hold on, brother.
It's gonna get lost. It's gonna get lost. The same amount of women who are sexually forward are the same amount of men. It doesn't bother. It's a small percentage. It's not the overall general situation that we're dealing with, right? All women are nowhere near the same. Y'all are all different, and they are sexually forward women, and the majority of men do have an issue with it. But what I'm saying is the way the minority of men who don't have an issue with it is that what I believe to be the minority of women who are sexually forward and don't have a problem with their sexuality and will walk out of the room with a good looking man just because that's what she want to do, because she hasn't been had her own sexuality subdued by society and perceived norms and bad ideologies and religion. I think it's borderline criminal that women get marginalized sexually, but that's just what it is right now.
All right, let me step in here. I think a big part of where we get disconnected is our comments are often spoken in a definitive gender manner. What I mean by that is a lot of the things that you led with was men, and you spoke for men. And I joked with Steph earlier in saying that I'm not going to ask you to speak for women. So there's our disconnect right there. I think it's a challenging thing because I'm not the same man that I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So I'm just speaking in me so that so y'all don't get it fucked up. I'm gonna speak of me. I'm been different. You know what I'm saying? Me. So if I'm different, we have to know that every single man looks at this situation differently. Now, I likes me an aggressive woman, but I agree that aggressive women are not looked upon favorably by men. Why? Because men like to be in control. An aggressive woman comes off as controlling, and he don't like that because it challenges the way that he wants to move with her. I think we should know that. And I think there are certain things that are understood or should be understood in our relationships with men and women, but there are certain things that need to be understood. For example, understood chivalry, take care of your lady, while at the same time giving her the opportunity to see meth and be like, I want to leave with him. If you didn't come with her, you ain't going to feel away. Why should we? Because, man, we are taught that if she's been with a bunch of men, then she is a low value woman. We can sit here and debate that all we want, but the truth is that's how we as men are taught. If she's been with many men, that we should devalue her or lower her value and how we view her. Look at how people talk about Kim Kardashian. I don't want to get into a Kim Kardashian conversation. That's not why I said her name, but I said her name because her name fits this comment. We look at her and we talk all kinds of, she's been with Ray J. Why was even Kanye with her? All of these kinds of things. Why? Okay, we can get into that. We can debate that. But the reality is what Steph is saying is she has the same urges that you have, but you devalue her for doing the same shit you do, men.
And to not because I feel like in all of this, the reality of her post was lost. There's something that she says very early that establishes everything. Most women are taught to be good partners to men from the moment they are little girls, which means men naturally have many options in partners, not just because they have low standards, but because women are literally trained to whatever you like, ooh, 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 your whole damn life. Until you read a book, you exclaim that you are womanist or feminist, and then you got a million black women going, oh, you, because they want to be picked so bad. That we have an entire culture of black women that will, if a black woman stands up and says, black women, we need to be more independent. We need to divest of black men who don't take care of us, who don't do this, who don't do that. There is an entire contingent. As a matter of fact, more black women that would stand up and say, you need to respect the black man and blah, blah, blah. They don't even want to have the conversation about what black men are not doing because they have been trained their whole life to invest in masculinity. They have been trained their whole life to not be the person that says anything negative about men because you don't want to reduce your options. So if this guy goes to work, underproduces, doesn't make the kind of money you need, and then a more eligible man who actually is able to provide for you shows up, it is less likely that a black woman is going to say, I'm done. Her loyalty has been ingrained in her from the very beginning. She knows that her options are limited. And Leandra's point isn't her options are limited because men, she is specifically speaking to women. She is saying, yeah, men are not in the same reality we are in. They have options, real options, not the bullshit options we as women pretend to have. Men exist in a reality where there are literally great options of women around you at all times. It's hard for you to truly have loyalty for that one partner, even if she's good. There's always someone better, someone prettier, someone willing to do more, even in bed. That is because we are trained as a gender to be the woman that will do more.
Let me read this comment, but I want you to respond to that. Matter of fact, before I read the comment, I want you to respond to that last part that she said. Do you agree or disagree? Say that last part again about how she said there are some that are prettier. Do that part again.
What she's saying is that men literally have other options because they exist in an alternative reality to women, where there are literally great options of women around you at all times. It makes it hard for you to truly have loyalty for that one partner, even if she's great, because there's always someone better, someone prettier, someone willing to do more. And I will say this, you can see that in the way women move, not men. You see it in the way women move.
Respond to that.
I don't disagree with it, and I wasn't disagreeing with it at all. All I was trying to say from the outset is this: that is a true statement. But when you are on the other side of the table and you're looking at it as a man, men see this: women turn away and turn down far more men than they engage with. Also, men who at one time in their life may have been struggling in many different ways have been turned down by so many different women in so many different aspects of their life that when they finally reach a point to where they are perceived to be attractive to women, they go, I'm going to milk it for all I can. It is a perspective, right? And it's not just because we are viewing something differently and have different experiences, it doesn't devalue either experience. It's just a different experience, right? And I know men who went from
some things
15,
are not in the middle, John, though.
It's not about the middle. It is about respecting the other side of a situation. I know men who went from 15 to 35 completely rejected by women, right? But finally at 35, got their life together, was able to get some money, put themselves in a situation where they looked attractive, and now women are accepting them. So now they're like, you know what? You know, back then you didn't want me, now I'm hot, you all on me. That's how they feeling. So they want to exercise all of those years as much as they can. I'm not justifying it. I'm telling you it's a reality. And the reality, and another reality is, right? Most, I would say not most, but at least half of what is eligible men who are not in a relationship fall beneath what women find to be attractive and or acceptable, because there's a false idea of standard in this country, right? That, and now in the world, what men are needed to do, and this is what men are seeing. And it doesn't mean that women don't have the right or should not have a full expectation of having the partner that best suits them to their desires. It's just a reality that there is a big disconnect in perspective of what we are experiencing in relationships.
I think that's the money shot. I think that last part is the money shot. I think that's where we find common ground. There is a disconnect. There's a very clear disconnect. I think there is a perspective of how men view it. And I used to run into this. It's funny that we're having this conversation. I used to run into this a lot when we used to do Love Revolutions with Arthur Charisma, the Dating Pool Diva, when we would have our in-person meetings. And I would always be the one. And I guess that's my natural inclination to be the moderate. And we got comments in from Nikki Nick as well as Sue. Let me read them and then I'll finish my point. Nikki says, I know men who are very picky, light skin, booty, clean home, got a car, make 20 years out, no kids, no more than one, knows what want, relationship, family, and has friends. Men have standards, low balling men. Some men have been through obstacles with relationships and have reasons to be more than simple, just as us women. And then Sue says, that is very true, Steph B. And we are taught to be each other's competition. And that's a big point as well. But I think one of the things that I would always say then is that we spend so much time mired in our own perspective that we don't listen. Like, we have conversations often to respond, but we don't have conversations to comprehend and to listen. Now, I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but I'm saying that's what happens often when these conversations are put on the table, whereas men who are often alphas and aggressive just by nature, say what they're going to say, and they say it, we, not they, we say it in a way that is the way it is. It's fact, but it ain't fact. It's your opinion, it's your perspective. When we often are tasked with understanding our sisters, we don't listen. Me, men, me. I'm speaking of myself. We're not talking about anybody other than me. Like, we don't always listen, and we should, because we're not here by ourselves. Now, that's a two-way street. It is, but when we're having this conversation, we're talking about this woman's experience and this woman's perspective. We should take a moment to listen to it and honor it and try to understand it. Because if we're being honest and if we're paying attention, like, we got to see that there's got to be some truth to it. Just as men who walk the world and know the experience that you have, walking around and having certain attentions from certain women in mass. You think your lady got that same kind of feeling? Maybe she don't, but it's not something that you expect the way you expect it as a man. And it's just certain things that you should just know. Like, I just me, when I hear her speaking, we could talk about Big Mama, and I think we made the joke last week about Granddaddy who had multiple families. Like, this is a generational thing. Like, the hierarchy and the patriarchy ain't new. Our grandmothers and great grandmothers went through the same type of shit that we sit here having the conversation. The difference was they didn't have the strength, the power, the knowledge, wisdom, and all of those things that Steph B has to come in here in the Lions Den and have this conversation with us two. Maybe that she didn't have those types of outlets where her voice was even heard to the point where anybody even cared what she thought. Just think about it. Just think about your grandma. If you're in your 40s and 50s like we are, just think about your grandma. Did she ever say a crossword to your grandpa? Probably not. I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful here. I don't know everybody's situation, but I'm just speaking culturally now versus when we were younger. Our grandmothers move different than they do now. Our grandfathers move different than we do now. And was it fair? Did it seem like she was told to kind of just handle all of those things over there? Was that fair? I personally don't think it was, because I grew up in the 80s when my mother and my father made sure that we ate. He cooked just like she cooked. And I knew how to do laundry, and I knew how to keep house. And obviously we're getting a little bit off topic, but I'm saying these things to make the point of, if I had been taught this by this man, then today I should be able to understand when this woman tells me that this is her experience, is different from mine, I need to stand down and just listen. That's what I'm doing. And I think that's what we should all do. And you know how Steppin, Marcus J, live from New Den Legacy in that radio. Interest of time. And because I'm going to play the big joker, I'll take the last word on that topic. And I'll say my corny thing because I didn't say it earlier. So I'll say it now. Let us move on. Yeah, shout out KRS-One. Like, yeah, corny Marcus is indigenous. I am corny by nature. And that's the other thing, to speak to John's point. When I was younger, they didn't play over well. To honor you, because I need you to understand that I hear you too. That did not play over well. Corny Marcus didn't play well when I was younger. It didn't, because I was corny Marcus. And as I've gotten older and I care less about what you think, I've become more authentic Marcus, which is corny Marcus. But if I wanted to curry favor from the ladies, they were more interested in different types of dudes. Does that affect certain kind of men? Absolutely it does. Does it create a certain kind of behavior in certain men? Absolutely it does. Am I explaining away anything? No, but I'm stating what certain kind of behaviors, because there is truth to what John was saying when he was talking about, we are taught to be on the hunt, but ladies are taught to look for certain kinds of qualities in men. And corny guy ain't one of them.
Well, and men are also taught that you can't turn a hoe into a housewife from a very young age.
Yeah.
But we are expected to turn community peen and felons and everything else into husbands.
That is very,
And then
very.
it's like, well, he got his life together at 35. I now have 4 degrees and I've been working. My 401k is established. I can't go back with you. And I shouldn't have to.
And no, you shouldn't have. You shouldn't. That again, this is a whole.
However,
we need to do a whole show.
We should. However, I will say this: the majority of Black women are dating underneath their own circumstance. They are dating beneath their financial level. They are dating beneath their credit level. They are dating beneath their education level. So while we're having all of that conversation, the majority of Black women are mismatching their relationships.
And somebody told me something a week and 10 when I first got back in the country. I had a conversation with a very old friend of mine, and she told me something, and it stuck with me. You know what she told me? She said, "Broke guys got big dicks." And that's because they can.
Is always great.
That's because they can.
We don't lie about that.
And you know why that is? Because they can afford to. Because the guy who doesn't have a big dick,
he got to work for something.
Yeah. So, and this is why women.
I think that this
is what she said to me.
I said, let us move on. I already said that part.
That's another show.
Yeah, I already said that part. But I mean, as far as the phallic symbol and the size of it, I think is irrelevant. But to speak to the part that John was saying, there's something to be said for that. While as women, there are certain things that as women that you expect and you move a certain kind of way. As men, there's certain things that as well. And there are certain women that you approach that that if you ain't got no coin, that you can't rock with her. Period. And that ain't got nothing to do with the merit of your manhood, not manhood literally physically, but the merits of what kind of person you are, nothing like that. If you don't have a certain level of coin, if you can't do for her the way she wants you to do for her, then she has no use for you. And there's something to be said for that. If we're going to honor the frustration that our sisters have with us, then that's one of the frustrations that we as men have with y'all. Ain't no how Steppin, Marcus J, live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio. Nikki Nick, she says Black women are taught to date under and white women are not. That is absolutely, Warren Ballantyne used to say this all the time on his show, and I will move on after I say this, but he would talk about when he was in law school and how the white girls would come for him because they were taught to find someone that matches them it matches them and is a little bit higher so that they can take care of them regardless of whatever it is that they're doing in their lives. Like, you need to be able to take care of me, and that's how they are taught. And that's the reason why they want to know what your daddy do, because that's a good way to know what you do.
Yes.
Or what you gonna do.
I had girlfriends in private school in 6th and 7th grade that could tell you, white women who could tell me that, Chad's father was a chiropractor or things like that. You're exactly right. They were already identifying value, monetary value, which to them equated to capability. But every good father, and I point at both of you, every good father wants his daughter to be well provided for.
Yeah.
So their dads were instilling in that in them as much as their mothers.
Yeah.
We should question when it bothers us within our community that our young girls are looking and saying, you out here acting low value on your behaviors and everything else. So I already know stability and provision is not going to be present. We shouldn't be bothered if our daughters are looking. I tell my daughters it matters.
Right.
And it does.
Yeah, it does. Ain't no Astel Marks, J live from New Den Legacy Rare. All right, so we're gonna move on for real at this moment. All right, so we're shifting here. And I'm gonna ask a question that's gonna lead to a bigger discussion. But the first question that I'm gonna ask to you, John, and then to you, Steph, is why do we slur ourselves? Why do we fight? And we've had variations of this conversation many times on the show. We're never gonna not have this conversation. So it just is what it is. We're never gonna not have this conversation. We may have it every once a month, every couple of weeks, whatever it is. We're going to always have this conversation because it's always on the table. Why we slur ourselves? Why do we fight for the right to call each other and ourselves the N-word when we have so much ire towards others that we perceive as disrespectful towards us? You know what I mean? Other communities, we get mad at the Asian people because we don't think that they treat us well when we come into the hair store. And we get mad at white people who might turn their nose up at us if we might be in certain neighborhoods. And we get mad at Jewish people because we feel that they don't treat us right with regards to certain business arrangements that we may be in with them. And we get mad at other communities for quote unquote taking our jobs. We get mad at other communities for all of these things, all of these perceived transgressions. Some are based in reality, and others may be based on situation. But we find it very, very difficult to call ourselves out for the most basic of transgressions. In those communities that I just mentioned, it's very, very rare that you would hear them slur themselves and call themselves outside of their names, using the most vile of terms that other communities use to disrespect and disparage them. You don't often see them use those terms to endear themselves to each other. Now, there are those who will talk to us about how women will use the B word. You know, women do it too. Why can't we use the N word? Women use B words. Like, oh, that's the mountain you're gonna plant your flag on. You're gonna plant your flag on that mountain. Like, really? Because women use the B word. Half of the population. and half of the population is a small percentage of that half of the population even engage in that kind of stuff. But if you want to use that as your argument or your debate or your whataboutism, then so be it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about why is it that we slur ourselves, but yet we have so much to say about other communities that come for us. So that's where this conversation, that's the backdrop of this conversation. John, you are up first after I read this comment. Let's see. Nikki Nick says it's a choice like how we fight for abortion rights. It's just a low jab. She's laughing about that. But having said that, with the opening that I made, what's your thoughts? Let's get it. Because we're gonna talk about Kanye too, y'all.
Okay.
That this was a prelude to talk about Kanye. For anybody who is thinking about leaving, if you want to talk about Kanye, that's coming. That's coming too. Yeah, man. Yeah.
So I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do my very best to choose my words carefully so as not to misrepresent my point, which I do from time to time. I believe it is somewhat, not completely, but somewhat a false narrative. Because I believe that for the most part, Black people, when we say, why do we slay ourselves? So let's be clear, we're speaking about Black folks. Black people do most things at the same rate and percentage as everybody else. The problem is no one else is exploited by it, and nobody else is the source of profit for others because of it. Right? I know people in other communities who call themselves by derogatory terms used in other communities to describe them often, but it is not made into a market where they can profit by it, right? I know Italian people who call each other out of their name. I know Jewish people who call each other derogatory terms. I know Asian people who do it. I spent times in their homes with their families, and they do it a lot. But what they don't do, speaking about Kanye, is then allow that to be exploited by another group of people who then profit off of it, right? And that's where the issue is. The issue is nothing to do with black people calling each other the N-word. The issue is black people making other people billionaires by calling each other the N-word. Right? That is the real issue. But we will fight among ourselves about using the word. We'll fight among ourselves about black on black crime. We'll continuously try to hold ourselves to a standard that we are not willing to hold anyone else to. We will say all the time, oh, we got to stick together in our community. We got to do this in our community. We got to be better. That is the Jim Crowism that was fed into us about how we're less than, and because we're less than, we must do better than in order to have some form of equality, right? We got to hold everybody else to the standard, right? If we're going to hold ourselves to the standard. And that's my issue when we get into these narratives. We're not holding anybody else to the standard. Everybody else can do whatever they want to do to us, exploit us, and profit off of us, but we're going to fight amongst ourselves. Don't use the word. Use the word. It's a term of endearment. It's this, it's that, it's that, it's the other. And at the same time, billions are being made by a whole nother community based on us using the word. And then in their behind their closed doors, in their group meetings among themselves, in their isolated communities where we are redlined out of, they do it all the time. There's just no exploiting and no profit of it. So this is why we get it face on. There are no records. There are no rap records talk about Guinea this and Guinea that. There are none, but trust me, the Italians do it, right? It's an American thing, right? There might be one or two records talk about white trash and cracker, but it's not leading the charts across the world like hip hop is, because they are not exploiting themselves. They're exploiting us. Mm-hmm. And they are then watching us fight and then exploiting that. Because then they take our conversations with each other about, yo, you got to do better in the community and we got to do that. And this black man said that and he's wrong about that because of we that. And they take that and guess what? They put a broadcast on it, put it out for the world, and then sell car commercials in between and make all this money. And we don't get nothing but uptight at each other about something that is truly small beans when you consider that the average wealth of a black family in America is $5. Negative dollars. Right.
It has dropped to the negative.
That's my point on that. Please.
Yeah. Listen, I can't disagree with anything that you're saying. I don't disagree with the fact that internally, yes, they have in-house language that they use with one another. I think the difference is, to your point, we've made it out. You know, remember when you were younger and it was like, what happens in the house, you don't take out in the streets. We take it in the streets.
Did we take it or did they pull it and then make money off?
I think we have to be accountable.
We got to own our shit, man.
I think we got to be accountable because that is a huge part of the problem.
We don't have a marketplace.
But hold on. I don't disagree that it has been repurposed and reused, but we took it out and made it one of those things where
we don't have a network. We don't have a newspaper. We don't have anything.
How can we sit here and say that we don't? We will talk about cultural appropriation. We will talk about the fact, we will talk about the fact that nobody has culture but us. We will talk about the fact that everybody steals from us. We influence culture. What I'm saying is they may have the power and the financial and they put it behind it and promoted it, but nobody is holding the gun to Young Thug's head for him to go and make the music that he's making. Now, hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
It could be argued that when we're looking at it, it's like, well, that's what they're monetizing and that's what they're paying for and everything else. But then just admit that that's what we're going to be sold for. We're going to be bought for a penny. And that's okay. I'm good with that. Just admit it. But the lack of accountability to me is kind of striking, because we do. I'm not saying we shouldn't get to say what we want to say. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that you're a part of the repurposing. You're a part of the repurposing. And yes, you are willing to be paid because you don't have the net worth somebody else does. You are willing to be paid to demonize your own people. You are willing to be paid to talk about your people, shooting your people and killing your people. You are willing to be paid to promote and say that Black women are bitches and hoes and this and that. Yes, you're willing to. Just accept that. Be accountable for that. Now, do I think, my point when we were talking about this in our group chat is, what I find problematic in it, when we get past who made it relevant, blah, 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 because that ultimately becomes innocuous. It doesn't even matter. It's already here. It is a prevailing part of society. But when we get here, I think one of the things that I look at and I see as prevalent is the fact that anti-Blackness is at an all-time high right now. And it is so clear because you can spend years, decades making anti-Black statements, the N-word attached to death, murder, mayhem, you ain't shit, so on and so forth. You can be making those statements. You can go on CNN. You could talk with Tucker Carlson and have this conversation. Nobody's going to cancel you. Anti-Blackness is monetarily it's a success. It's a success platform. It's helpful. Nobody's canceling you. But if you make a generalization, not even an anti-statement, a generalization of someone else, there are not, the average Black person knows they can't be out here in the streets using racial slurs against other minorities. They know this, and be celebrated and paid. They know this. They are aware of this. So even having the statement of accountability at this point, it's like you're using it repetitively. How are you not somewhat accountable for how you're being perceived? If I was sitting here and I'm talking to another woman back and forth and we're like, yeah, bitch this, bitch that, and one of you do it and then I get mad, yeah, I did introduce it to the space. I'm not saying the word didn't exist. It wasn't used in a way that was much more than marginalizing. It was used in a plantation environment, and they already have used it to subjugate, to sell stories, the news. It's not even the N-word that they've used. They've used the context of who an N-word is. I'm talking about the usage of the word as a financial platform. Yes, they monetize it because they can't say it out loud in the streets. They know you will, so let me pay you to do it. And then what ends up happening is it's promulgated and it goes on. But they would never allow it with anyone else. They would never allow me to start a record label full of young white kids that are using whatever thing they consider slur. They call Karen a slur now. And that's my point. My point is that ultimately, anti-Blackness is the only thing that is profitable when it comes to racism. You say something about Jewish people, me saying Jewish people could make someone upset.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how significant it is. So, and you know why it's so significant? Because they're holding you accountable for even daring to say it. And that's my point about it. They're not holding us accountable for it. They're holding us accountable to keep saying it.
Yeah.
Because it's financially feasible for them.
Yeah.
And they will profit off
a couple of points that you both made, and I agree with you in the sense that our people have made this comfortable for other people, and this predates our music. We are of the age, all of us in our 50s and late 40s, we are of the age where we remember to varying degrees, life before hip hop. We remember our neighborhoods. We remember how we spoke in our neighborhoods. And if we don't remember, we can just go back and we can look at our black exploitation movies and how we talk to each other and how we treat it. Using that word is cultural. It's always been a part of our vernacular. It's not new. It ain't new. It ain't been new. This is how we are. This is how we talk. It's just what it is. And so when you look at our music, there's no surprise that it would permeate there. Having said that, how are we, knowing what I just said as the backdrop, going to look at other communities and challenge them to not treat us the way that we treat ourselves? You know what I'm saying? That's a difficult thing for me because we're supposed to expect that they're going to be on the honor system, the same honor system that we couldn't honor. Like we could not honor not using terrible terms that have always been used as a negative towards us. But now all of a sudden we're supposed to become indignant when they decide to do it. You know what I mean? And in every other song, and I'm not no hypocrite here. Make no mistake. I love NWA. I was listening to them the other day, and when I'm in the car and it's just me, every other time the word come out, the song, it come out of me. Keep it funky. Okay? I'm not gonna say it on the show. I'm not gonna say it in mixed company, but I mean, it's just what it is. I understand. I'm not under no illusions, and I ain't no freaking hypocrite. I know what it is when it comes to this. Having said that, if we're going to take the tact of these people are exploiting us, how dare they? Many of the most prominent early day hip hop organizations were our organizations, and we sold them to the same people that we mad with right now. Just like Bob Johnson sold BET, and we were so excited about BET, and many of us in the 80s and 90s because of what it was and what it represented. In later years, it didn't represent those things any longer. But at the end of the day, the black owner and founder sold it. He sold it. So what are we talking about here? We mad at the people who we sold our images to for what they decided to do with our image when we had a choice to not sell it? Oh, we was pressured. We wanted to get on. We wanted to make the money. All right, I can dig it. I dig that. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be prosperous and wanting to get put on. But there are certain things that come with that. Like, you know, if you sell your soul to the devil, your devil has your soul now. You know, so you gonna sell your soul to the devil, get mad that he use it how he want to use it? What are we talking about here? Perfect time to shift. And John, I know you want to get in here, and so I'm gonna say this, and then you got it. But this is a perfect time to introduce Kanye. You know, because we going back and forth. Many of us in our communities and other communities, we see what's going on, and he's being tagged with anti-Semitism and all of these things. And you got a lot of our people who are defending him and defending the things that Kanye is speaking the truth. And when I ask what's the truth, many of them ain't able to tell me what the truth is. Some can, fine. We can debate those. But many can't tell me what the truth that Kanye's speaking is. So the truth about slavery being a choice, that's the truth. Word, slavery was a choice. How about selling your rights to the white man in music and him deciding what your image is? Was that a choice? Was that a choice? Was it a choice when you sat down and you signed all these contracts with people, the same people that you're talking trash about now? Was it a choice when you sat down with him and signed a contract that made you a billionaire? Was that a choice? Kanye, he's so smart. He's so smart, and he's making it plain. And he's saying the things. He's saying the things that maybe we should have been saying. Oh, he's speaking truth. Let's talk about that truth. Okay, let's talk about how you in the room with him, but now you got a problem with him. You want to tell us what we already know, and now all of a sudden you got the hoteps and the woke folks that want to tell you how much truth you speaking. Ain't nobody shocked. We know that a broke clock is right twice a day. We know that you say some true shit sometimes, just like Donald Trump did. And I look at people defending Kanye West like I look at Trump supporters. Now I'm finished. Ain't no how Steppin Marcus J live from New Dan Legacy and that radio. Let's get it. Let's get it.
I'm about to get.
Let's get it.
I'm about to get on. I'm gonna stay on the first topic, and I'm gonna go right into Kanye. Because both of these apply.
You got the man.
Both of these apply. So bear with me, folks.
I said what I wanted to say because I knew that I wanted to leave enough time for you to say what you need to say. So
right,
let's get it.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear on this, everybody. When hip hop started, right? When hip hop started as a genre and as a marketable, profitable entity, not only was there no N-word, but there was no cursing, or very, very little, right? And people were making a lot of money. Not the artists, but the labels were making a lot of money. It could have stayed that way forever. But someone decided that the platform, right? The platform wasn't causing, it didn't have the effect that they wanted it to have, because it was actually providing opportunity for young Black folks. And it was also speaking to young Black folks in a positive way. So it was a conscious decision. Do not get it twisted. This falls back to Kanye. This was a conscious decision by predominantly Jewish people in the entertainment industry to make hip hop negative and to promote the negative and to not promote the positive. This was done deliberate. It was a plan. It was marketed. It was exploited. Right? So then when we were speaking earlier and said, well, if you don't want to, you don't want to, you shouldn't use the word and you don't do that. But it's like, okay, they're not buying the other record. I could walk around with my demo, but nobody's buying it. But when I start from the window to the wall, they buying that. They buying that. And they're promoting that. And even if I put out my own thing independently and sell it out the trunk of my car, the Jewish-owned radio station ain't going to play it. So only a little few people are going to hear it, because they're going to play what they want to play. They're going to buy what they want to buy, and they're going to promote what they want to promote, which is the negative. It is not under our control. And the idea that people, that we have an expectation of control other than that's, I take that back to our previous conversation. Well, she opened her leg. Nah, that ain't it. Right? We just not going, well, then we don't make no music. No hip. If all they're gonna buy and promote is the N-word music, then we'll make no music. But there's always going to be an outlier who's starving, whose mother who needs some kind of medical treatment or whatever, and that $50,000 to make this record changes their life. So they're going to make that record, right? We do not own the means of production or promotion. So when you say we put it out there just like everybody else put theirs out there. The difference is we were exploited and profited off of. This is why it's worldwide, right? And the other stuff isn't worldwide. We didn't make it worldwide. The N-word is not a worldwide phenomenon because of Black people, right? Also, right? They romanticize all of their negatives, right? There was a movie about the Jewish mafia, Made in America, or something like that. And it was a mob movie about the Jewish mafia. They romanticized it. All of the Italian mafia movies, it's romanticized. All the murders and negatives, all of that is romanticized. But when they do it for black people, it's demonized. Our gangster movies, we're demonized. And you know how they do it? There's always the good black guy in the neighborhood going after the bad black gangster. Right? So they always got us fighting amongst ourselves, right? Saying, be the good black guy. Don't be the gangster. This is the gangster. But who's the one who has everything that everybody else wants? The gangster. Right? So all this is deliberate. This isn't by chance. This isn't by circumstance. This is a concerted effort to emasculate black men, demonize black people, marginalize and objectify black women, right? All of this is deliberate, it's concentrated, it is a plan, and it's working. Hold on, I gotta finish, right? And at the same time they promote all of this negativity, they will not allow any critique of their own action. You cannot even call them out on any significant way when you say anything about, well, why did you do this? And why would you do this? And why would they will cut you off, right? Minimalize you, call you crazy, or even create something in your past that didn't exist. And when by the time you prove that it was a lie, it's too late because you're no longer a part of the media, right? That's another thing they do. So they don't allow the critique, right? Right? They constantly tell us to be responsible for ourselves when we try to be responsible for ourselves by creating our own infrastructure and our own situation. You talk about Bob Johnson selling BET. That was a get down or lay down. That wasn't a choice. That was like, we gonna buy this. No, I want to keep it. I don't think you heard us. We gonna buy this.
You can say because that, and nobody will never know how true it is or not.
You know who will know how? You know who will know
say that.
You know who will know how true it is? The people that bought it. Viacom will know how true it is. And guess what? Go ahead and try to hold on to your network if you want to. And not only will you not have a network, but you'll be broke behind it. So what would you ever have?
So what does that look like?
This is what it looks like. Either you have some money in no network, or have no money and no network.
No. What does that look like? Because see, we can say these things, and if you say it with enough vigor and strength behind it, people who don't know any better are going to hear that, and they're going to be like, "Oh yeah, that's truth."
I'm gonna tell you what it looks like.
And this is what happens when Kanye goes out there, and you got people saying, "Oh, he's speaking truth. Kanye's speaking truth." These people often don't know what.
So I'll give it to you.
He's talking about.
Let me show you what
and
it
so
looks like.
If you say Bob Johnson had to sell because he was forced to sell, that doesn't mean nothing to a layperson. Because when I hear you say that, because see, I'm gonna challenge you, and there are people who will hear that and be like, "Yeah, John's right." I'm not doing that. So I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
So let me give it up for you,
please,
and then for the lay folks. Right?
I'm a lay folk here.
In 1993. 50 prominent black people got together and decided they wanted to make a bank. On the lead of that was Magic Johnson and Janet Jackson. They were the leads. They were the leads. They had the money. Federal government was required to provide them with 10 times the money that they had in hold for the bank, right? When they went to sign the papers, they sat in the room, and you know what they told them? No. Well, we have everything in order. We have the money, we have the this, we have the corporation, we have the trust, we have the this, we have the that. No. What do you mean no? We're legal, we're good. Goodbye. Right? It don't matter how much in order you think you got things. It don't matter how right you think you are. When that man tell you no and walk out the door, that's it.
All right, so
and you can get up and you can protest all you want.
In the interest of time, because of what time it is and how much time we have left, we're going to shorten our pros, and we're going to exchange in a short amount of time.
Kanye.
But let
Well,
me just say this though. You know, the people who I don't know that story. I don't. So I won't purport to know that story. So I'll defer to that pending some research on my part.
Okay. So everybody talk about, I'll give you one more. Everybody talk about this
Bill
whole thing
Cosby.
with Cosby and it.
I knew you were
That
going
wasn't,
there.
but that wasn't what happened just now. That happened back in the 90s,
Yeah.
right? And his son mysteriously was dead.
Yeah.
You understand? And he
That
pulled
was his penance.
and he pulled his bid. I don't know if it was his penance, but he had the money, he had the bid, the contracts were inked. His son died, he pulled the bid. Right? You can read into it whatever you want,
I mean, there's clearly a suggestion here,
right.
else you wouldn't have brought it up.
Because
every time this conversation comes up, you
but,
always bring that up.
But no.
So that's what you think, right?
Listen.
No. That's what you think, right?
This is what I think. I think that coincidence is two things. Once you get more than three, you got an issue.
Yeah, you got.
Right?
No, I agree with that.
So
I agree with that.
With that being said, I know people on a personal level who have tried to do certain things, like own property, buy property in Manhattan, that it did not get sold to them. Right? Establish, have contracts and different things. I know people who have had to send other people in their place in order to get deals done. Racism is not bullshit. It's real, right? Black people who make a concerted effort to improve themselves in their community are challenged harder than terrorists.
I don't disagree with that, but
right? So I want to take it back to the N-word situation, and I'm going to introduce it to Kanye by saying this. The part of the stuff that Kanye says is true has to do with the fact that he makes these statements regarding things. The problem with what Kanye says is not about it being true or not true. The problem is we allow other people to tell us how to feel about it. He isn't saying anything mean. He isn't speaking about hatred. He isn't doing anything inflammatory. He's offering an opinion based on his experience, but we will allow media to tell us it's inflammatory, it's anti-Semitic, it's this, and it's none of those things. It's just his opinion. Whether it's a good opinion or not,
if his opinion,
it's not those things.
But if it his opinion, see, I'm not someone, and I want to shift here because of time.
Right.
So hopefully you made your points. I'm not one that is sympathetic to Jewish people no more than I'm sympathetic to any other community other than Black people. I'm pro-Black. Everybody else, you got to get in where you fit and support your own people like I support mine. I said it. That's how I feel about it. That ain't anti-Semitic. You want to tag me with it, then you didn't hear what I said. Let me start there. Having said that, I think it's hard for me when I hear people co-signing what he's saying, talking about how much truth he's speaking when he's speaking to Jewish people, because for me, it comes back to good old-fashioned white supremacy. All of this, good old-fashioned white supremacy. Because if you look at these Jewish people, they got white faces. You know what I'm saying? And so when you tag a religion or you tag a group or you tag a lot of people, that's where you're going to run into problems. If you deal with the system that we're dealing with, which is a system of white supremacy, you can make these same points, be just as salient, and be more accurate than tagging it for a religion of people. Because just like the white people who know me, they'll tell you Marcus J is firm in what he say, but he not a racist dude. And if they say anything different, then they don't know me. I know Jewish people, and I've never met one that had these evil Jew nefarious qualities that
he never said evil.
Evil Jew nefarious qualities that is often suggested when he says these things, and people who want to support him says he's speaking truth. We know what it is. We can act like we don't know what it is, but we know what it is. It's a system of white supremacy that we're in. That if he spoke on that level, then maybe he wouldn't have the problems that he's having right now.
But here goes the issue. They are allowed to plant their flag in Judaism, right? But we can't say, I see your flag. That's the problem.
How do they plant their flag in Judaism? Are they telling you, I'm Jewish, so this is the reason why I'm going to take advantage of you?
No, but they are corralling and pooling and strengthening their resources around that.
That's what we
based in their,
and that's what he said.
Based in their culture, based in their religion.
Right. They are tightening their reins around themselves and their people.
Not seeing a problem.
Right. It's not a problem.
Not seeing a problem.
But the problem is Kanye said, this is what they're doing. And they said, how dare you say that?
I'm going DEFCON on Jewish people.
He could have left that out.
He could have.
I'm going DEFCON on Jewish people.
Listen. We're gonna defund the police. Really? People say stupid shit. He said some stupid shit.
But Kanye speaking the truth.
But
I broke down earlier before we even got here.
But here's where he's speaking
Kanye's truth.
Here's where Kanye's truth is. They are galvanized around the religion. They do plant their flag in Judaism, and they do, for the most part, exploit the black community and hip hop culture to profit. And they will admit to it when cornered. But however, we cannot say.
Do they admit to, I'm Jewish and I want to oppress you, black people?
No.
Like what is said.
That's not about oppression.
They
do say, I do want to exploit you. I want to eat off of you.
Where do we see any example? And please make this point quickly, concisely. Steph will take the last word here, and then we will shift towards the end. But give me an example, in your opinion, where they specifically take their religion of Judaism and use that as a vehicle to oppress, not white supremacy. I need you to be specific.
They don't use Judaism as a vehicle to oppress. They use Judaism as a vehicle to galvanize and themselves.
How?
Nobody, Nation of Islam.
Right.
They should.
But listen,
how?
And nobody's having a problem with that because
everybody's having a problem.
No, they listen. This is the problem.
That's the whole point.
Everybody has the problem with the fact that Kanye said that's what they do. He didn't say that it was evil. He didn't say. He said they promote among themselves, right? And in the music industry, right, they exploit the black culture and they keep it amongst themselves and they alienate black people within it as they exploit it. And he said, I am jealous of it. I admire it. We need to do what they're doing. What they're doing isn't wrong.
I think
the problem is we're not doing it.
The disconnect.
And they said, he said hate speech.
The disconnect is attaching that to the religion instead of the system.
But they attached it to their religion. They planted their flag and waved it. Because again,
we're Jewish, so we're gonna buy these record labels so that we can.
We're Jewish. We're Jewish, so everybody that works closely among us, where the big money is, has to be Jewish also. And we're not gonna share it, and we're gonna keep it here, and we're gonna make it this way because this is how we do it. This is how my grandfather did it. This is how his grandfather did it, and this is what we're gonna do.
If we took a small paragraph off of the page in that book, we would be better off.
And that's what Kanye said, and they judged it as hate speech.
Yeah, when you mask it, I'm going DEFCON 5 on Jewish people.
He said, look, again, that goes back to
then it becomes.
But guess what?
There's the anti-Semitism right there.
That's not anti-Semitism. That's Kanye being stupid.
Okay.
Just like defund the police.
So if
defund the police ain't anti-cop.
This is where we're gonna shift.
Defund the police is not anti-cop.
This is where we will shift. This is where we will shift and agree to disagree.
Come on.
Yeah, come on.
So tell me that defund the police is anti-cop.
No. Anti-cop. Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is.
It is.
Okay, well, we agree to
disagree.
Steph, you got the last word.
So the one thing I want to say is, I'm huge on, you can make your point without bloviating or overstating or submitting conspiracy as truth. So some years ago, I was at a financial conference. It was a financial sales conference, and there were members of One United Bank present. One United Bank is the bank that came from Founders Bank, which is what Janet Jackson, Gerald, and Magic Johnson did purchase. They then merged with Boston Bank, another black bank, and created One United, which is the largest black bank. And there was a booth there, and it was One United. And one of the things that they said have hurt them. Now, mind you, they got TARP during 2008, so they've currently manage $193 million worth of assets. So they are a relevant entity. One of the things that the woman who was there representing them said has hurt them significantly is the conspiracy that no one was allowed to do X and O and start this bank and so on and so forth. Because when they try to promote the fact, and her job was to go out and grow their assets, which, by the way, we have local black banks that are failing because black people don't want to put money in them. She was out there. Her job was to go and grow the assets under management for the bank. And she said one of the most significant issues they had was the conspiracy statement that nobody wanted them to buy this, that, and the other. No one wanted them to have this bank. That bank was purchased and then it was merged. So I do think it's important to be responsible with statements like that, because that is a conspiracy theory. That is not what occurred.
The bank that they wanted to create, they were not allowed to create.
They
did purchase they wanted to create a bank.
They purchased Founders.
They purchased another bank, but that was at a later time.
No.
And the people who wanted to promote it with the celebrity and the cachet of the name.
Janet
and they were disallowed.
And Magic and Gerald wanted to be able to flip it, which is how you make money. They wanted to get out of it. They wanted to save it, which they did, and they wanted to transition it. And in order to transition it, they went to the owners of the largest bank in Boston, black owned, and they created that relationship. But none of those people wanted to be in banking. They wanted to make money off of selling a bank, and they did. And I only say that because it doesn't take much to turn an entire statement on its ear by one simple thing that throws it off. The other thing that I will state is, yes, even a broke clock can be right twice. I think what Kanye needs to do is be quiet.
Of course, I agree there. He's not a spokesperson.
He is not in a position mentally, emotionally, or in any other way to speak. And he established that for me. As much as I think I love when he's healthy. I love what Kanye did to further himself. My favorite thing about Kanye, and the thing that when I speak about him on radio and everything else, the thing I like most about him is his ultimate belief in self. But when you are mismanaged mentally, you need help, and then you're out there, you're now just a raging megalomaniac. You are now on TV, to Marcus's earlier point. No, you're not healthy. So you shouldn't be speaking on certain things, because you're not going to be able to make a statement that is declarative, emphatic, true, without being looked at in all the ways that he has now had himself painted. Def Jam is leaving Kanye as of today. Def Jam is parting with good music. The thing that got Kanye where he is, he's now about to lose. The things that he built, he is now about to lose. He's about to lose them because he messed with the power structure. Do I care whether that power structure would be Jewish or black or what? Because I'm going to tell you something. If I created a network with these two brothers in the room and I built this thing, and some white dude comes out and says, black people are amassing power and this, that, and the other, guess what? I'm running him out of business. He established the reason. I'm not saying that he can't point out. I'm not saying that he cannot point out who is running the industry. I'm not saying that he can't point out that the Leo Cohens and people like that are running the industry. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is when he makes these big statements, but he's incapable mentally right now because of where he is to go deeper and explain himself. This is why he's in the situation he's in. Is he? And then also to say it would be like, coming out and yeah, the Nation of Islam is amassing power. You should. You should amass power. He's absolutely right that Black people have failed. They've fallen down on the job of learning how to amass communal power. He's absolutely right. But when he starts to step into making it about them, when what all he had to really say was, we should do what other communities do, so on and so forth, he didn't need to go to steps further. It's the problem with everyone having a platform now, is that instead of making a statement, defining that statement clearly. I like how, Marcus says it in layman terms, so it cannot be misinterpreted, and, using language that is above the head of the listener and then starting to sound crazy yourself. He has ruined this for himself. He has put himself in this position. Now, I still think that there is a huge amount of communal accountability that we are just letting go in this entire conversation. If I can make money off of something, if I can make money off of you saying I can run back and forth across the street 5 times in traffic and never get hit, I'm going to play Frogger. And my mission is simply to make money, I'm not the problem. Maybe I'm the only part of the problem is I'm not being responsible. I'm taking advantage of whatever's going on in your head that's making you think you can play Frogger in traffic. But you have to have some accountability. And there is no way to amass the kind of power that we want to say Jewish people have without being accountable about who we are. Why is that? And I said this last week, when I was saying I bring up a statement and I say this is happening to Black women and I mentioned Black men, and then we immediately wanted to jump off of that. We have to become a community that is more accountable. Nobody's going to do it for us. We're sitting ducks and we are not accountable for how we feed the machine. You hate the machine so much, but you're feeding it.
So, yes, I'll say that first and foremost. Yes, that I will always accept whatever responsibility comes my way for anything, because that's how I was built as a human being. I, however, have zero expectation of any other human being to operate the way that I do, because everybody is individual, right? If we are going to, which we need to, again, because I agree with you, have accountability for ourselves, we also need to have the ability to call out other people and make them accountable for whatever part that they played in our issues, because our issues are not ours alone.
I don't disagree with that part.
That's my thing, right? Kanye is Kanye because of other people, not because of us. He has the platform and to say the stuff that he said and all that stuff because of other people. It is deemed inflammatory, negative, anti-Semitic because of other people. We are having a debate about it because of other people. It is not born out of what we do or say. Now, we can be accountable, like I say almost every week, for my house. Nobody, people in my house don't commit crime. We don't degrade other people. We don't exploit other people. That's my house. And I try to be example for my neighbors. And hopefully I have been for my entire adult life, right? That's how I move. That's how I'm hoping I inspire other people to move. But that does not mean that I haven't been kicked while I was down, that I have not been marginalized and objectified simply for the fact that, not looking at me, but the fact that I identify as a Black man. right? Because if I wanted to get the George Jefferson going with my hair and put on some black glasses and stay my ass out of Dominican Republic, I could probably pass. Shave all of this off with none of this, right? None of this ethnic looking beard, right? And just let my gray go on the side with the ball in the middle and some rim glasses and a suit, right? It might, and code switch my speech. It might be hard to tell what I am, right? So because of the fact that I hard identify as black, I've been marginalized and exploited and taken advantage of and brutalized. I've been beaten by the police badly, bruised and bloodied more than once for no reason other than the fact that I identify as a black person. And they see me as, when they see me, they see a black man. Period. And in the midst, it wasn't all white. There was black cops involved too. Stomping me in the ground. Right? So accountability, just like charity, begins at home. But it doesn't rest solely on us. We have to have the ability to call out the system, the white supremacy. We have to have the ability to critique other communities. We're the only community that is not allowed to critique other communities.
Well, I said that in the messaging,
right?
We are not
remember,
allowed to
remember when they was
out.
beating up Asians? Was it last year, 2 years ago? It took 30 days to stop that. 30 days, federal, you can't mess with no Asians. No, we're gonna stop that right now. They've been kicking our ass for 400 years and can't stop it.
See no lies. Zero.
Not on
Zero
that
lies. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J. John. This is the reason why I rock with you, because you always got a jewel and you will have the last word on that topic. And that last word was spot on in the comment of the night. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J. live from New Den Legacy in that radio. At this time of the show, this is where we shift. And when we say let us move on, it means something completely different. This is where we move on to the final vestige of our show tonight, where we get into our rants, we get into our closings, we get into our missing children, and we start off with our moment in Black history, which is what I'm doing tonight. We'll do a couple. We'll start in 2012, 10 years ago to the day. 10 years ago, 2012, on October 24th, the United States Justice Department filed civil rights lawsuit against Meridian, Mississippi officials for incarcerating Black disabled children for dress code violation and talking back to teachers. Yeah, this is how they treat our babies, y'all. Oh, some bullshit. Yeah. 1986. Yeah. They put babies in jail for dress code. Okay, and talking back. They put them in jail for dress code and talking back. Like, really?
And they were like
really?
Special needs kids, right?
Really? Yeah. It doesn't say, yeah, disabled. Yeah. Disabled. Yeah. Special needs kids. Thank you, John. Thank you. Yes. For talking back. And yeah, all right. And I do these moments in Black history to highlight how they fuck with us and how historically they fucked with us, which is why when I hear comments in conversations around different types of oppression in our country, I always fall back on white supremacy. When I hear people want to make it anti-Semitic, or they want to talk about Jewish people, and we talk about all kinds of stuff, I hear it. I'm not moved by that as other folks in that community would be. I respect it because as a Black person, I know how we get treated in our country. I know how, we get treated and how people don't care about how we feel about how we get treated. So when I see other communities stand up for their own, even when they fucked up with their shit, I still can dig it. I can dig it because when I see stuff like this, you got disabled Black kids that got put in jail because they got the wrong clothes and maybe they might have talked slick. Like, don't nobody get fucked with in this country worse than we do. Nobody. That ain't even a conversation that I'm willing to have. It's nobody. And it's always under the vise of white supremacy. The system of white supremacy in our country that is designed to make sure that we stay in our place. Because white is right. And the manifestation of that is black people are undervalued, underestimated, and marginalized. Why? Because their ice is colder. It's real shit. It's a system. It's not about individuals. It's not about individuals. It's never going to be about individuals with me. It's going to always be about the system that's in place, that's always been in place to keep everybody who ain't white on the outside. Does that mean they're all white people are the problem? Absolutely not. Because if you pour on white, you just as black as I am in some cases, unless they clean you up and you walk in someplace. That's where your privilege comes in. Because you get to be white when you walk in someplace. All they got to do is clean you up. They don't know you poor, but they going to know I'm black. And you can sit here in this country and act like that shit don't matter. It's a non-starter for me. It just is. If that's how you feel, you got it, pimping. Don't come over here to talk to me because we ain't got nothing to talk about. Unless you, as a baseline, are willing to accept that white supremacy has always been in play in this country, starting from 1619 up to 1865. From that 100 years from 1865 to 1965, where they said we was free, but they still fucked with us. 1965, when we got a couple of civil rights and voting rights bills, and now we think that we get to be treated like them? No, because here we are 50 years later, we still talking about Kanye West saying that George Floyd died because of fentanyl when we all saw that white cop with his knee on his neck. Okay? That's how you bring tonight's show full circle. Ain't no how Steph Marcus J. I don't even want to read no more. I did all that. I got more. I ain't gonna read no more. Ain't no how Steph Marcus J. Live from New Den Legacy. And I did the moment in Black History and the rant and all of this stuff at the same damn time. I must have been doing this for a long time. I know what I'm doing. Ain't no how Steph Marcus J. Live from New Den Legacy and the radio. Damn it, I'm just feisty right now. And this is what y'all do to me. I love doing this. My favorite part of the week. Thank you. Let's look for some missing children, Steph. Can we move on to that? Yes. All right. Deion Burton is missing from Richmond, Virginia since October 14th. He's 13. He's 5'6" and 165. Last seen wearing a black hoodie, gray pants, and his hair is styled in dreadlocks. If you've seen Deion Burton, please contact the National Center for Missing and or Exploited Children on their website, missingkids.org, or contact the Richmond City Police Department at 804-646-5100. Richmond. We're also in Chesterfield County looking for Zaire Nicholas. He's been missing since October 19th. He's a 14-year-old black man who's 5'5", 120. Last seen wearing a black jacket with a hood on it, black leggings, blue Crocs. His hair is styled in a short afro. If you've seen Zaire Nichols, please contact the National Center for Missing and or Exploited Children on their website, missingkids.org, or contact the Chesterfield County Police Department at 804-748-1251. Last but not least, we're looking for Zael Swan. She's been missing since October 20th from Henrico County. She's a 14-year-old black female who stands 5'2", 119. Last seen a tan zip-up hoodie, light blue jeans. Her hair is styled in a ponytail. She's got a nose ring and wears earrings in both ears. If you've seen Zael Swan, please contact the National Center for Missing and or Exploited Children on their website, missingkids.org, or contact the Henrico County Police Department at 501-5000. So let us recap. We're looking for Deion Burton out of Richmond. We're looking for Zaire Nicholas out of Chesterfield. We're looking for Zael Swan out of Henrico. If you've seen any of them, please contact the National Center for Missing and or Exploited Children at website missingkids.org, or contact them at 1-800-THE-LOST, 1-800-843-5678. Let's keep our eye out for these babies. Let's keep our eye out for Keisha Jacobs, missing from right here in Richmond, Virginia since 2016, September. Churchill, she was last seen. If you've seen her, Let's please send a tip to the Richmond City Police Department. Let's get Miss Tony some sort of closure. Richmond City Police Department for Keisha Jacobs, 804-646-5100. I'm going to have this baby on my mind for the rest of my life. And I hope that I don't go to the grave without knowing what happened to her. Miss Tony, her mama, deserves to know. She deserves to know. So we need to know. If you know, you need to open up your mouth. All of this, I don't snitch and all that stuff. I snitch. Don't do no shit in front of me. I'ma tell. Don't do it in front of me. I'ma tell. Ain't no I still Marcus J live from New Den, like I said in that radio. All right. So this is where we go to the end of the show, where we rant, where we close. John, you have the con. Thank you, my brother. Man, our conversations and our banter always sharpens me. I hear you, even when I disagree with you, especially when it's vehement, because if I wasn't vehemently disagreeing with you, then I didn't really hear you. So I would rather someone hear me and disagree with me than to discount what I said and say they heard me. So I appreciate you. I want you to hear that from me. This is where you say your piece, bro. You got it.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you for the platform. Thank you for our friendship and everything that comes with that. We spent a couple hours tonight speaking about a lot of different things. There's a statistic somewhere. I don't know if Steph could probably pull it up, but every couple of hours in a day, a certain amount of Black women go missing. Nobody has a conversation about that. Because they haven't found a way to monetize it. Right? They can't sell a product behind it. Right? It doesn't have any brand value. So we won't discuss it. But we're wax poetic and Kanye's dumbass. I don't have a problem with Kanye being dumb. And I said that last week. I have a problem with the fact that people present him as if he's not. People present him as if there is an actual expectation for him to do something other than what he does, which is bang out some beats and pay for some rhymes from Consequence and make it happen and make people dance at a party. That's our only expectation of Kanye. Anything else we get out of Kanye that we might like should be considered cream on the coffee. The fact that we will allow, I remember Malcolm X saying something about that. He was like, yeah, you let these people put these people out here, these athletes and these entertainers, and let them tell you that these are your political leaders. These people have no education in the area, right? They've done no research on the subject matter, but you allow them to have your voice because of their popularity, right? We have allowed the powers that be to make Kanye our leader. Yay. Not even Kanye no more. Yay. Yay is our leader. Man who's behind some of the ugliest clothes I ever seen in my life. That's our leader. When we got what's my man name? Tahani Coates. Ta-Nehisi Coates. We got the British kid guy with the dreads, the braids. That's a smart, sharp brother. What's his name? Y'all look him up. Look him up. No, not Trevor. Trevor's smart too, but he's an entertainer. Trevor's an entertainer. And see, that's another thing. We have to understand something. People who are athletes and entertainers and in the business of entertaining people should not have to bear the burden of the impartiality and responsibility of political banter. Right? That's a heavy burden to be able to speak to something in a way with limited bias so that you don't come off the way they were able to encapsulate and script Kanye's words. The reason they were able to do that is because he's ill-equipped. He doesn't have what it takes to be a spokesperson on anything other than his music, and he can barely do that. Right? So he's not a leader, political or otherwise. He's just a guy who's in the music industry, who made a lot of money. Right? I'll give him that. Kudos for him. But we actually, as a people, have allowed them to put him up and call him a leader. And then you got people that's going to rally behind him. And then you got people that's going to try to tear him down. I'm not trying to do either. I'm saying that he's out of place. And I don't accept it. Y'all can't hand me Ye. I don't want him. Put him back. I don't want him. You can't give me Ye in any kind of way. That's my position on him, right? We have so much more to talk about. We're still quietly behind doors fighting a war for a country that prides itself on racism. Ukraine. They pride themselves on racism. And they're fighting another country that does the same thing, Russia, that got this black woman in jail for a vape that she been in and out the country with 12 times before. We done forgot about her. Griner, that's her name, right? We don't talk about Ye. Ye got access to billions of dollars. Go get Griner, Ye. Do that. Shut up and go get her. Putin needs some money right about now because he's losing. He'll take $1 billion from you. Go get her. People will buy your ugly sneakers then, right? But nobody's going to push Ye that way. They're going to put him up on a platform to say something stupid, to cause a distraction, to get us to start arguing amongst ourselves about it, about who's blacker than who, and who gets to do what and why. And again, we've went from $5 worth of wealth to negative wealth in the wealthiest country on the planet. US dollar is the world dollar. Everything is based on the US dollar. Try to make something else and we will kill you. You don't believe me? Ask Gaddafi. Oh, never mind. He's not here no more. Right? This is the reality of the world we live in. And we're consistently allowed ourselves to be distracted and take our eyes off the ball. I don't know. And it's sad that I don't know in the past 2 hours how many black women have gone missing. How many young black girls have been exploited, taken across state lines to be exploited. Sometimes by black people and sometimes by other people. But it shouldn't matter. These are our babies. Why I don't know that? But I know everything that Kanye said. And I blame myself for that. I allowed myself to be entertained by the entertainer under the idea that it was something political. It ain't nothing more political than our babies. The children are the future. They made a song about it. Right? 2012. That was 10 years ago. They arrested the babies and they probably did something else bad. I saw something recently. They had a 6-year-old boy in handcuffs talk about he took a bag of chips from the stove. Put him in handcuffs hard and shoved him in the back of the police car. It's what they do to our babies. And not saying they don't sometimes need their ass whooped, because they do. Or maybe not. Maybe that's not the way to do things, because we got that from slavery. From what I've been told, I was a long time a proponent of an ass whooping as discipline. But psychologically, the traumatizing the children is what that does. It creates the continued slave mentality that when you don't do as you're told, you're going to get beat. If you don't stay in your place, you're going to get beat. The cracker going to crack the whip. Right? And we live by these things as opposed to alternative ideas on psychologically loving and building good character in our children through example and nurturing and education, right? We don't get those tools. We get the belt, right? And then we got a whole group of black people, and again, I'm guilty, who will jump. You better beat them kids. We got beat. I heard a comic one time talk about he had a cousin who was cross-eyed, and grandma got tired of looking at it and slapped her, and then her eyes went right. And people laugh about it. That ain't cool. That's crazy. But that's our community, and that's what's promoted. That's what's put out there. That's what we get behind. That's what we jump on. Right? And as long as we do that, we good. Oh, black people do this and white people do that. And this one come to the cookout and this one can't. And this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. But again, negative wealth. Black families have nothing but debt. We don't have anything. And our counterparts are at about 250,000. 250,000 with against negative $20 under the same circumstance. And we can no longer allow it to be strictly because of being marginalized and disenfranchised. That has happened. That is true. But we are now in the communication age. We have the World Wide Web. You can make money without anybody ever seeing your face. Nobody even has to know they're dealing with a black person. You can make a lot of money, right? And you could do wonderful things, right? But part of what you got to do is learn to shut up. Stop talking about it. Stop flashing it. I know they tell you that's what you want to do, but that ain't what you want to do. Because they had the rapper boy last month at the IHOP or wherever he was, the Roscoe's, and they came up in there and killed him in front of his girlfriend. He was making some money. He wanted to flash it and show everybody. No, shut up. Make your money. Take care of your children. Y'all know the whole routine. Y'all can go back to the to shows past. I'm not even going to get into life insurance and all that kind of stuff this time. What I'm going to tell you is, if you see it on television, if you hear about it on the internet, if you know anything about it, it was designed deliberately for you to find out. You're not learning anything new. You're not getting any new information. You getting what they designed for you to get. So stop putting all of your effort into it, right? And put your effort more into getting your house together and being an example for your neighbor and taking care of your children and watching out for your babies. What's the thing they got with the little tie, the white tie thing on the car? Go check your lady's car. Go check your what is that? The tie wrap. It's a thing. They putting tie wraps on single women's cars to mark them, right? That they saw them going out to a car a couple times, right? They putting plastic bags on the bumper and different things. They marking these single women's cars. Walk your woman to the car. Walk your neighbor to the car. Start looking out for each other and stop talking about shit. That's my rant.
Boy, you always got it, boy. I tell you, I'm gonna look out for that now. You're gonna have me looking in the store, in the parking lots, and hopefully I don't see them. But if they out there, I'm gonna be tasked with,
if it's a lie, I didn't tell it. I done saw about 10 news programs on it.
I'm gonna be tasked with it. Ain't no Hashtag Marcus J live from New Dan Legacy and that radio. Steph, it's time for us to go home, man. Yeah. It is, and I'll just say this: I appreciate you, man. You put up with a lot. It's a lot of testosterone in here and alpha energy in here, and Lord knows that is not my way of negating your alphaness. You're absolutely alpha, but damn, this masculine energy in here sometimes is a lot, and I appreciate your patience with me and with us and what it is that we do. And the truth of the matter is, tonight was a lot of stuff, man. We talked about a lot of stuff. It was one of those nights where we were all over the place. And I really appreciated the conversation that we had earlier about the sister who made her choice to choose her own path. And I love the things that you said on that. And it elicited, obviously, our sister Nikki called. We didn't get a lot of debate back and forth on it because of time, but it's just one of those things where I really appreciate it. And I wanted to share that with you. So to close us out, say your final word. I'll say my final word and we're going home. What you got?
So first of all, thank both of you, of course, always making your points and bringing things forward that are relevant to the listener and to the people who will hear on repeat, because that always matters. I go back sometimes and watch and listen and re-debate a point or agree,
You mean it
with
ain't just
something
me?
that, well, and so I appreciate that that we get to come together and spend Monday nights, having this kind of discourse, and I appreciate even when we don't agree, because the vigorous debate is necessary. We have lost the room for critical thinking. We have not made space for it, and so here I'm always glad when we come together with differing or similar points of views and have those conversations. So thank you both. And Marcus, thanks for all the tech work you do and for how meticulous you are. That is never, I don't comment on it, but I have to say, as someone with a true Virgo spirit, I appreciate how meticulous you are. It's almost shocking that you're a Gemini. Yeah, I'm like, I can't believe you're a Gemini sometimes.
Yeah, man.
But I like how purposeful you are, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the work you put in.
Thank you.
When you come into the den.
Thank you.
So first of all, I want to make an announcement, because I have been this is week 2 that I've been off air with the Hustlers Hive, making some adjustments. And so the Hustlers Hive is now masterclass with the Hustlers Hive sessions. And I will be moving to what we call the 60 at 6. So 6 p.m. every Friday night, Choice 105.3, I will be conducting a master's class. And that master class will be situated around where business and culture collide. So we will talk about things from a standpoint of what makes sense to the people, for the people, and how we can galvanize things by the people. We'll be talking about what makes sense culturally, who we are, how we move, and walking away with information that is helpful and it's meant to move us forward. Having guests in house, including some political guests that are coming up, and really making space to educate our people. So that is launching in December. Master's class with the Hustlers Hive. And it will be again on Choice 105.3. Shout out to the Foot family. These are good people. You know, when you just come across good people, and this is going to tie in very succinctly to what I really can't call a rant. I'll call it rave for the night, because I'm raving about people and what they do. So the master's class, Hustlers Hive Sessions, is coming first week in December. I will be marketing it, promoting it. If you are a business owner and you want to create space there, whether it's you want to come in, sit in the studio with me, whether it is that you want to promote what you do, you want to be a sponsor, an advertiser, we are here for you. And really want to make an impact and use my own training as a coach and consultant to be helpful to the people that are listening. None of that can happen without support. And so, lately I've been talking about the meaning of things and semantics and how we use things, because sometimes understanding the true definition of a word, not the etymology, you don't have to know where the word came from, but understanding what the definition is will change what you complain about. It will change what you make relevant. It will change how you move. And one of the things that I hear all the time, or I see, you're on social media, is how people feel so unsupported. Y'all don't want to support me. You don't want to buy my product. You don't want to do this. And people are hurt by the lack of support. And that support is often attached to revenue, money, finance, who's spending with you. But I want to let you know that when support is an action word, a verb, it means to bear all or part of the weight of, to hold up. To bear all or part of the weight of, to hold up. So when I look at my circle or my sphere of influence and I think about who's supporting me, I spend so little time worrying about the people who are not holding me up because I know what the word means. You steal the thunder of the word simply by talking about the people who are not present. And I think of that. I'll immediately go to who's holding me up. And how do I need them to hold me up? I don't need you to always hold me up financially. That's not what people are going to do for you. I don't care if you are an entrepreneur. I don't care if you are doing your own radio show. I don't care if you're talking about your family or friends. It's best to understand where you need holding up. When you start a business, the way that people hold you up, and I know because I became self-employed at 23 for the first time, I wasn't looking for people to bear the weight of anything. I just wanted them to hold me up. And hold me up was accountability. Stephanie, you're better than this. Don't give up on yourself. Keep going. Hold me up was, do you need resources that mean education and information? Hold me up is, I'll listen to you simply because no one is asking you if you're okay. When you spend a lot of time in listeners and you're out there and you're immediately getting bogged down with who's not paying you for whatever you do, you're missing out on the opportunity to think about all the people who are holding you up. So when I think about Hustlers Hive coming back as the master's class, and then we have a secondary announcement that's coming up behind that, I immediately think about what was said to me when I approached this family who owns this station and runs a church and pours into their community. And they said, "This is your last week on air?" Somewhat surprised. And I said, "Yeah." And the father, who is the pastor of the church, doesn't run the radio portion of the church, came in with the son, and they both looked at me and said, "Oh no. What you do is relevant. We hear you, we listen, our people listen. You're smart, you're intelligent, you bring a lot, and you care. We're not going to let you go. We're not going to allow that to happen. Whether it's about money or time or energy, we're going to figure it out." And they began to verbally hold me up. They began to verbally pour into me. Sometimes you need someone to say, "You're smart enough too. You're strong enough too. You're relevant enough for." And that's where I look for the support. They didn't say, "Hey, you can do this for free." They said, "How can we make this happen? How can we hold you up? How can we support you?" And then the very next step was, "You know what? We want you to be even better than you were. We want to hold you up by putting you in a spot that's behind someone that's coming from a major radio brand and bring his audience to you. And we want people to hear you when they're driving home or on Friday when they're getting ready to go out for the night or at a time where they're making dinner. We want you on at 6 o'clock because we need more people to hear you. So how can we hold you up? How can we support you?" And so, my good people, what I'm saying is there are people in your universe that want to hold you up. You're spending too much time thinking about the people who haven't paid you for something. There are bigger things than money. There's encouragement, there's investment of time and energy, there's an acknowledgement of your strengths. Like I acknowledge these brothers here who is holding you up. Those are your supporters. Go to them, tell them where you need to place that weight? Where do they need to bear the burden? Sometimes it's going to be, I need you to bear the burden of my insecurity. Money can't do that. When I was worried about Hustlers Hive, I called Mark. Mark was in the middle of work. I think you were working because you were just back from vacation, and you held me up. You didn't just put me over. You held me up. You know, I've walked in this space and said, man, it's been a day. And these brothers will hold me up. If I'm not talking enough, I know John gonna get me. I know John's gonna have a message. It's gonna stimulate me. Spend your time looking for those who truly support you. And when I say support you, I mean hold you up. And that's my rave.
And you know, hashtag Marcus J live from New Den Legacy in that radio. I dig that message. I just dig that message. You know, we're at time, so I'll make my statement and then I'll get out of it. I said a lot of what I'm gonna say now throughout the show. This is gonna be one of those rants where I already said that, but I'm gonna say it again. You know, I'll go back to Kanye. You know, I'll take this directly from a Facebook post that I had earlier today that I had put out to elicit conversation. And it's funny because I put out pictures of me and my brother and my father in Masonic dress. And I put out pictures of me at the river. And I put out pictures of me and mama at the Scream Forest. And all of those got all kinds of support and love and likes and shares and all that kind of stuff. When I said what I said about Kanye, while I'm watching him go viral in posts from folks who are supporting him or defending him, they going viral. But those of us who may not be in lockstep with him or not. It's funny because I strategically put that out there, sandwiched amongst the other stuff, because I was testing algorithms because I wanted to see, like, and I know people see my stuff. People seen that, but they chose not to go there. And these are a lot of the same people who, because I was with the shits today. I've been with the shits with the Kanye thing all day today. I've been with the shits. So I've been in an energy that I have purposefully avoided the last year or two, going into people's posts and contradicting them and debating them on certain topics. So I was sharpening my horns today with this, and nobody had nothing to say. And it was strange to me, you know, because I know you see it. And it just struck me. And so I said it then. I said it earlier on the show tonight, and I'm going to say it again right now. I look at folks, and I'm going to say this clear. And I'm also going to get close to the camera, mostly because I can't see, but partially because I want y'all to hear me and see me clear. I look at folks who are defending Kanye West like I look at Trump supporters, because y'all say a lot of the same stuff. What he's saying is true. You just don't understand. And it's just more nonsense and drivel and mendacity. It's a different dude, but it's the same trope. And they even got them same ugly ass red hats and that they seem to have bought from the same damn place. And this the dude who said la 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 while he's talking to Chris Cuomo. Chris Cuomo did a good job, in my opinion, of trying to make sure that Kanye West's message, regardless of what that message was given an opportunity to be laid bare. I'm not going to comment on his mental state. That's for his family, his doctors, and all of them to deal with. I'm dealing with the people who are so starved for leadership that they turn to Kanye West to tell them the truth. And many of them can't decipher what that truth is. So what exactly is he saying that's the truth? That's worth all of this. Truth. If folks came for me and I had control to silence them, I would silence them. That's the truth. What other truth is he telling? The folks that he's making money with and still making money with, they have to get him. That's the truth. But he's still making money with them. So what's the problem? What's the truth that we talking about. Never mind. La 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 la. That's the truth. You know another truth? Fentanyl killed George Floyd, not the Derek Chauvin cop who had his knee on his neck for 9 minutes, right? That's the truth too. And truth coming from a grown-ass man on primetime TV talking about la 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 la. And it's blowing my mind. People that's co-signing this bullshit. And it reminds me of another group of supporters who supported a man who purported to tell the truth. I guess a broken clock is right twice a day, since he told the truth too. That's my man. Marcus's related rant that had everything to do with tonight's show. It's the end of the show tonight. I want to thank everybody for rocking with us tonight. I want to remind you that independence is the key to building your legacy. Also want to say peace to all of the stars and all of the squares. In the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty. Those are the words of Bob Marley, who you hear singing in the background. Authenticity has no competition. We ain't got no competition. We in here celebrating over 11 years of internet radio and live podcasting. I want you to be blessed. I want you to be well. Most importantly, I need you to keep it 100. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J live from New Den of Legacy Internet Radio. We'll be back in November. Ain't no half step Marcus J for John, for Steph, for all of our listeners and viewers and everybody who rocks with us. We appreciate y'all. Index, middle, 2 fingers, peace fingers, 2 of them. Peace and love, y'all. Peace.
Oh yeah, I'm with this, I'm just gonna lay back and I'm gonna drop some smooth lyrics. So tune in 7 to 9:30 and don't be late. We about to set it straight. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Word. I'm ready, let's go. Ain't no half stepping, that's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters Talk sprinkled with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call in, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus J start to talk, running back. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus J start to talk. Steppin', that's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters Talk sprinkled with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call in, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus J start to talk.